We're rocking. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the reminder on the Gambler page so that folks are reminded to join us. Got over 100 likes.
So go to the live video on your profile and then share the live video right to that page, because I can't do it right on Bass and Beer Radio.
Okay. So say that again. I got to share the live stream directly to their page.
Yeah, but from
Okay.
your page, not Bass and Beer Radio.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool beans. For those of you that are just joining us, stay tuned. We got a great one for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm kind of dumb. I don't think I can do this. Like I don't know how to share this to the Gambler page. I don't know.
So go to the live video, hit share, feed, in a
Oh,
group.
dude, smart.
Now find the Gambler Bass Boats page.
Yep, that's the one.
What it do? What's up, everybody? We're just getting situated. We're about to bring Heath in here in just a few minutes. Letting some guys get up in here real quick. Paul Batters is back in studio.
Finally.
Yeah. It's been a busy fishing run for you.
Yeah, it has. I was
JCS Marine in the house.
What's up,
John?
JCS Marine? What's up, boys?
Oddly enough, in October, I was off more than I was at work.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And that was all for fishing.
Do
That's
us a
great.
favor, everybody. Hit that like and share button. We're going to put in our intro real quick. What's up, Matt Downs? Thanks for joining us. Legendary Matt Downs from Trick Tins. All the big hitters up in here right now. We're going to get right into this thing. We got Heath on the other side. We're going to play the intro. We're going to go right over to Heath and get into Gambler Boats. This is going to be an amazing interview. We've been looking forward to this all week long. Shout out to Tony for making the connection. And shout out to Heath for coming to hang out with us, being willing to talk
Yep, it's gonna be
about some
fun.
stuff that's going on. What's up, CJ? And yeah, let's get into this thing right now.
Because I know Tony's setting the hook on grass.
It's
not true. It's not what happened. All right, guys. Hey, so we got a lot of new viewers tonight. For those of you that are brand new, welcome to the show. Tony, Chad, Paul, this is Bass and Beer Radio. Every Friday, some episodes are a little bit more organized than others. Sometimes we get in front of the camera and we say what's on our mind and talk about fishing, but sometimes
we never
get
do
a
that.
yeah, right. Sometimes we get a real treat and we bring in some legends of the industry. You know, we've had Denny Brower on, we've had David Fritz, we've had Logan Parks, we've had some really cool guys on here. Andy Hauser with Team Marine. Go follow Team Marine if you're not familiar with those folks. But tonight we are joined by Mr. Heath Murphy, who's on your screen in the lower right from Gambler Boats. Heath, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. What's up, guys? How are you?
We're doing great.
not too bad.
We're very excited to have you.
We're living the American dream right now.
Right? Just wanted to say a huge thanks to you for giving some time to join us and talk a little bit about Gambler. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding Gambler, and there's a lot of folks were really invested, both some financially and some just emotionally in Gambler. A lot of folks were, Gambler's been around for a long time. I mean, to my understanding, it started in like the late '80s, mid to late '80s, and then it turned into Sterling for a while, and then it came back. And I think it was 2019, 2020, I think is when it kind of started. And then, we all kind of, you better than anybody, know how things ended. So, we got some questions here that we want to ask you. Some of the viewers are going to join us and they're going to ask their questions. And we're going to get right into it, brother. So before we get into it, is there anything you want to start out by saying to some of the folks that are watching before we start going down with these questions?
No, but I did want to thank you guys for having me on. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, haven't we beat this dead horse enough already? But I jump on every chance I get to just talk about boats and whatnot. So I'm excited to be here and ready to get after it.
Awesome. Well, let's rock and roll, Chad. Let's pull up these questions here so I can read them, and then we're going to go right. We'll just go down the list. So the first question I have for you is, so going back to the original Gambler days, I mean, were you or anybody else that was involved in the revival, so from the resurgence of Gambler on, was anybody that was there involved in Gambler previously?
No. We did have one guy that I was able to sweet talk into coming to work for us that worked with Bob Ackerbloom and the original Gambler. And he did a bunch of lamination. He was a rock star at that stuff. But yeah, that was it. That was the only carryover. And it was kind of towards the second half of operation when he came.
So how important is something like that? Like, I mean, a Gambler was a company that I mean, it was around, but it wasn't around, right? So like, and I know it was kind of bleeding over into some of the other questions, but so the Gambler was around in the 90s and 2000s, and it was Sterling. When you're bringing a boat company back, or you're starting to build a boat company that hasn't been around necessarily for a while, I mean, how important, in your opinion, is continuity? Like, do you think if there was a handful of people that were familiar with the original brand, it may have made a difference in how things ended up?
Absolutely. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword, but I mean, having somebody that's familiar with the process, knows what's going on, those kind of things, obviously that's going to be a huge help. Somebody that brings bad habits or things like that, maybe not so much. But yeah, if you've got that background experience, it just puts you that farther ahead on the curve, in the whole learning process. It'll be second nature to someone who's done it before.
Cool. So like, I guess the next question we have here for you, and this kind of gets into a little bit of the older Gambler models first and then the newer ones. So with the older models, I mean, off the top of your head, tell us a little bit about the difference in some of the models, because I don't know a lot. All I know is I think Gamblers are cool as hell, and I want one, and I still want one. But like, there's the 206, the 209, the Intimidator, the Outlaw, the 2100, the 2200. Like, what was the difference between a lot of those models?
You're not going to be real happy with my answer. I have no idea. Like, I've never, a lot of the boats, I've never even seen one of the older, models in person. So I think I've seen a 209 and maybe a 2200. But I really don't have any experience. Everything was with the Sterling era hulls.
Okay. Okay, so the molds that Sterling used, do you know if they were they Bob Ackerman's 2200 molds, or were they? I guess they were different.
Oh no, yeah, no. So
really, okay,
Sterling,
so those were different.
There's really, other than the name Sterling, there's no difference. There's no gap in continuity. So it went from the 2100, 2200, and that they probably modified the 2200 mold with a bunch of changes. They might have made an entirely new one. I honestly don't know, but they were still made by the same people in the same building as all the other Gamblers. So the Sterling.
Oh really?
So,
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It was just a name change.
So do you know how, off the top of your head, I mean, Do you know why that happened? Like, why did Gambler sell and go to Sterling? Like, was it just the financial background that made it better, or
Gambler
was
Gambler didn't sell. It was still just Bob Ackerblum. I think there was some business shuffling like on the books around that. Maybe I don't know for sure. But like I said, it was still Bob and all the crew there that worked for him that were
wow?
building the Gamblers right to the Sterlings. That just changed the badge on the boat.
Really? Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. I figured. I guess there was some comments on Facebook circulating before this episode, and a few folks had said, "Well, Bob Ackerman sold to American Marine Corporation, so you should ask him about what happened and why." But I didn't realize that actually wasn't the case. That it was just a business decision where they had carried the Sterling name instead of actually selling the business.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reason. There could have been some investment or something like that caused them to form a new entity internal to American Marine Sports or whoever. But yeah, they definitely didn't. Wasn't a major personnel change or location change or anything like that.
Oh wow.
Just to answer a viewer question right now, yes, Jim, it was the same Sterling Boat Company that made the flats boats.
They
Okay,
made what?
cool. So I guess
That made the flats boats.
Yeah, yep.
so interesting. Wow, I didn't realize that because I was one of the people that I just assumed that Gambler became Sterling because I guess in that time
We had so many boat manufacturers that were going under
Right,
getting bought by
exactly,
different umbrellas and stuff
exactly.
like that. So you just assume that that's just what happened to them, right? Like when Champion was became Stratus, right? And Stratus made some champions for a couple of years, and you had stuff like that going on around that same time. So it's easy to just assume that that's the same thing that happened.
Yeah, I think there in the late 2000s when the housing market stuff went down, the stock market crashed, and a lot of boat companies were going under. That's when Bob Ackerblum, being pretty savvy business dude and an awesome boat builder, he kind of shifted gears and started making all the putting a lot of effort into the saltwater boats, and since it seems like everything Bob touches or made, it turns out to be a really good product, and they took off, and there was really no need to focus on the bass boats anymore. He's probably making twice the margin on the saltwater boats and running at capacity.
definitely want to get into the whole margins conversation a little bit later. So one of our viewers has a question saying, "When did you start working with Gambler? Was this you started with the revival era? I guess we'll call it."
Right.
Was this the
Yep.
Santee plant era?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So how did you come to work at Gambler?
It's actually a funny story. A little bit long-winded, but I'll try to make it pretty quick. My background is in engineering, and I was tired of being stuck at a desk behind a computer screen, dreaming about building boats or fishing or all the stuff that I love to do, and decided that I wanted to try to find a way to do something more in line with my passions for work. The whole saying, you do what you love, you never work a day in your life kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Well, I decided I was going to go for it. So I quit my job and started, just looking around for things. I had some money saved up to live on. And I can't remember where it was. It might have been on the Bass Boat Central somewhere that somebody mentioned a guy from South Carolina was buying Gambler and moving it to South Carolina from Florida. And I had been sending resumes and reaching out to all these other bass boat companies, but didn't really want to move, if I didn't have to. So I was really pumped to hear about that. So I started trying to track Scott down, ended up finding his phone number somewhere, called him a whole bunch of times. He didn't answer. Finally, he answered. And, I was like, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you." He's like, I'm not interested in any kind of partnership. We're not going to be hiring for 8 months, so on and so forth. And I kept calling and checking back in. One day he said, "I'm working on these 2 boats. I can't talk to you." I was like, "Well, what time are you going to start working on the boats tomorrow?" He's like, 8 o'clock. I was like, "All right, I'll be there. Bring my tools." He's like, "Look, I'm not hiring. I'm not going to pay you." I was like, "You don't have to pay me anything. Just let me help and see where it goes." 2 weeks later, we finished up those 2 test boats. and he's like, "All right, let's talk." So that's how I got involved.
That's a pretty wild story.
That is pretty. The test boats were the one that were, I think, very early on in the revival. One of them was running. They were running in the mid '80s on Santee and stuff, right? Like with different motors.
Yeah,
and
both
things
of them
like that.
were low to mid '80s. But basically, if you go to the Gambler website, the boats that are pictured, as the models, those were the 2 test boats.
Were those boats ever sold, or did you guys just keep?
Yeah.
Oh, they were sold.
We ended up having to sell them to, different points in the business to keep things going.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story, actually. And
CJ is very interested in these test boats.
Yes, yeah.
Where is the test boat?
Rightfully so. Those are what converted me to be a gambler guy.
CJ is a friend of ours. He's a young guy. He's actually on his second gambler. I think he has a 2100.
Yeah, some people want their first gambler. Easy over there, CJ, flexing on me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
CJ's on his second.
That's pretty cool.
At like 25 years old.
Adam Grimes tagging Tom Over Jr. Tom Over Jr. needs to get himself in a gambler.
He's getting married. He can't do that.
Yeah, right.
I bet that's dual income. It'll be fine.
All right. Who wants to ask the third question?
Paul.
I can answer it. Okay. So the design of Gambler was very unique. What were some of the lesser known features of Gambler boats that made them unique? So the stuff, like, we all know what they look like, but what was it that really made them unique?
Aside from just being one of the few full liner boats left on the market. So
what does that mean? What's a full? I'm sorry to cut you off. I don't think a lot of people know what that means.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing.
So most boats made today, like when you look at the hull, when it first comes out of the mold, it's just like a shell of fiberglass, right? Mm-hmm. And then what most of the boats are is they've got compartments that they glass into the boat strategically, and then they will fill those compartments with foam so that you have the flotation required to keep the boat afloat if it gets swamped. Which,
unlike
you guys probably don't have any experience with that. But.
I do. I have lots of experience with that.
Technically, you should be able to take the drain plug out. It should sink down to about the rub rail, and it shouldn't sink.
Should.
But yeah, so a gambler is actually, you've got that hull shell, and then you've got the floor of the boat, the liner, and it's it's full rub rail to rub rail, bow to stern. The whole floor goes into the boat, and then the entire in between is high pressure foam filled and becomes like a whole structural solid one piece.
Oh, okay.
You cut the boat in half. You might have seen old Ranger commercials.
The cutaway boats. Yep.
Yep. You could just cut the boat in half and it'd still float.
Wow.
For the most part.
That's badass. What's going on, Fishing for Dollars? Thank you for joining, brother.
Okay. Wow. No, that's pretty neat.
Let's talk about trim tabs, because Gambler was the only bass boat that ever had trim tabs. Did your gamblers have trim tabs
When I
as
saw
well?
the trim tabs on CJ's boat down at Anna, I was like, what are those?
Right.
Yeah. So, the boats that we built absolutely had trim tabs. And we probably want to talk a little bit about hull designs in general. You guys reel me in if we start getting too far in the weeds, but we talked a little bit before the podcast about balance, and we were talking about your bullet and kind of how the jack plate offset and the weight of the motor generates a certain amount of natural bow lift, and it balances the boat. And if you get too much setback, the boat will start porpoising, and it'll impact the handling. If you don't have enough, then just can't get the bow lift to get the nose up, and you're putting all that pressure on the prop instead of having some cantilever effect helping you out. So what happens if you were to look at the boat and move the drain plug and the pad around under the boat to get it just perfect to balance the boat, you end up with the drain plug way, far up under the boat, and it takes away a lot of the boat that helps you with your whole shot.
Mm-hmm.
So
However,
it's
you will
interesting
have
that you say that, because we're looking at some of the pictures, and like your design boats had almost like an undercut type of thing going on with the pad, and I think that's kind of what you're getting into, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So it basically located the pad far enough forward to where you didn't have a bunch of excess boat dragging in the water at speed. So essentially, like Bob put the pad where it needed to be going 80 miles an hour and didn't, and said, let's focus on that, optimize for that, and then we'll figure out a way to address what other shortcomings come. And that was the whole shot suffered. So that's where the trim tabs kind of came into play as he started really optimizing that balance of the boat and getting a bunch of the boat out of the root spray coming up. So, you don't have a lot of extra drag. It started to negatively impact the whole shot. So the trim tabs offset that.
Oh wow,
Interesting.
See,
But
I was always, and again, I've never owned a Gambler, always wanted to, but I was always told that the trim tabs were used for like rough water riding and keeping the boat on plane on low speeds for when you're in just those nasty type of conditions. I'm sure they work for
I
that
thought
too.
they were for adjusting, like when you're like chiming like real hard. You could adjust them and try to like settle the chiming down.
No, if you're chiming real hard, those trim tabs aren't even in the water.
Yeah, they're probably
It's,
way out of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, see, it shows how much I know.
It's chine with an N. Chine.
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 Chines.
I know about
Not
that.
chime.
Chime walk is interesting because the
That's
first
one of my
time,
pet peeves, by the way, is when people mispronounce boat parts,
Oh,
like
yeah.
like councils. You
Ah.
gotta
Oh,
get under the council.
you mean the console?
Hey, leave Andy alone, man. Andy Hauser's a good dude.
I told that teaching lady that I didn't need to know English. I just need to know wrenches and bolts and nuts.
No, and that's not a dig at Andy. The president of my bass club has said that for years, and every time he says it, it just makes me cringe.
I,
you gotta
I
get
was
up under
taking
the
a
council.
shot at Andy there. Not
Take a
you.
shot at Andy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you
So
talk-
to
you
answer your
talk-
question
you just met
about
Andy last week, right?
Yeah. When I was out in Wisconsin, I stopped by his shop and talked to him
That's
for a
awesome.
while.
I know Heath was obviously on Andy's show a couple months ago talking about a lot of the same stuff we're hitting today too.
So back to the trim tab thing, you guys were like, I thought it was for this. I thought it really ended up being for all of that because there's a whole bunch of cool shit that the boat will do with the trim tabs that nobody probably ever thought about until they were on there and you had them and started playing with it. And you're like, oh, wow, you can actually drop these halfway down and just catch the top of the spray and just stabilize the boat if you've got like too much partner weight or if it's, something's out of whack and it is wanting to be off balance a little bit. You don't even have to put them all the way down. Or, you could set the boat down in 2 feet of water and with the trim tabs down because it keeps the back of the boat from digging so deep when it sits down.
Could have used that in Wisconsin.
You can
Right.
cut the boat off going 65 miles an hour, drop the tabs, and it won't wash a drop of water over the back.
Wow.
Just all kinds of really cool stuff. So they ended up being a tool that me, if I was designing a new boat from scratch and maybe didn't have the same whole shot concerns, I would probably still put trim tabs on it just because, why not?
Right.
You can do so much more stuff with them than without them. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to, but you got them.
Do you know when trim tabs became a thing on Gambler? Because I know we already kind of got into the older hulls a little bit, but a lot of the older hulls didn't have them. I think the 209s didn't, the Intimidators didn't, but the 2100s did. Is that correct to your knowledge?
Yeah, somewhere in there. I don't know for sure. Like I said, my older Gambler knowledge is not great.
It's a little bit off script here, but I guess what was, if you had to pick a boat before you became a Gambler guy, like before you got involved with Gambler, like what was your favorite brand of boat? I was gonna say Champion. I already know it.
No, I'd probably, and I've never actually ridden in one, but I always had just an affinity for Allison's XB21.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yep.
Good choice.
Those things, the new ones are amazing, by the way. They're so
yeah.
cool.
They have
I've never
headlights,
fished.
and that is the
They do.
coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I've never fished out of one, so I really don't know. But
And
I love performance. I know it's an efficient hull, so I always really wanted to check one of those out.
Yeah.
The
I've never
headlights.
seen
The
one.
headlights are there. So
Headlights?
we're
Yeah.
all gathering. For before we launch this tournament in Wisconsin, we're all like gathered in the dark, and like this guy comes idling up, and all of a sudden you just see bloop, and he just flicks on headlights and just lights up everything in front of him, and I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever for this specific situation, because you can't see crap, and like I can't see crap. You can. He can see everything. He pulls up next to me. I was like, dang, those headlights are cool. And he's like, yep, it's pretty awesome. I got a bathroom too. Which is, one of those other Allison features that they have now is their little porta pot system. It's pretty awesome.
That's crazy.
You got headlights and a bathroom.
On a bass boat.
On a bass boat, yep.
That does 120 miles an hour.
Ish.
With a 115.
Yeah, right.
right. With a 150, that's crazy.
Yeah, they are pretty wild. One of my friends locally has an older Allison with a 150 in quotations that does like 87 miles an hour.
Dude, my bass boat, I have an aluminum Ranger. It's a 2024 haul, and it'll only do 48 miles an hour with a 150 on the back of it.
We've had it over 50.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, but it should definitely be running over 50 for a normal. But yeah, it's got that the Mercury Pro XS 150 on it. It's a 2021 motor. God.
Yeah, Joe almost doubles that with a 150.
Yeah.
Quote. You have to put the quotations around the 150 because that's just what it. That's just what it started as.
All right, so let's talk about. We already kind of touched on the Sterling thing, which is really cool. I thought that Gambler sold to become Sterling, but they didn't. It was still.
Before you get started, sweet Joe. Joe, great. Thanks for answering that question for us, Joe. The trim tabs started around 99, 2000, and around 2000 they were standard on all five models. The Outlaw, 1900 Intimidator, 2000 Gambler, 2100, etc. Thanks for
the good comment.
Joe, the Dale Intimidator, was that after Dale Earnhardt?
Yes.
Why do I feel like that definitely was?
It was.
That's what the whole Intimidator series was.
That's
Dale's signature.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He was a bass fishing mofo, wasn't he? Dale
He might be the first person other than JCS that drank a beer on Bass and Beer Radio.
Love that.
Awesome.
Cheers to you.
Dude,
Always welcome back for us, man. That's what I'm talking about. I'm pumped up right now. I could run through a wall. I feel like John Gruden on an after NFL. Anyway, all right. So we kind of hit on Sterling a little bit, and for the folks that have just joined, and Heath, correct me if I misspeak here, but so Bob was still building Gamblers, but they were under the Sterling name from a business standpoint. He didn't sell. There was some sort of shuffling around, so it was still similar molds. Maybe they changed them a little bit, but it was still the same.
No.
Thing.
It could have been a rebuild or a completely new mold, but they are completely different.
Oh, okay.
They're not similar hull designs. Like,
oh wow. Glad you said that, because I kind of thought because they didn't sell, it was a different thing, but they actually redesigned the hull. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So a Gambler, a pre-Sterling Gambler, and a Sterling are just two different things.
They're different animals. So Bob had been working on the Sterling mold for, I don't know, years. And then when they started building the saltwater boats and he kind of quit selling Gamblers, he kind of quit making bass boats. Wow. And, there were a bunch of people who knew Bob and had bought, umpteen jillion boats from him in the past that knew about the new mold he'd been working on. But basically he's, the culmination of 30 years of building all the other Gamblers, just rolled all of the fixes and updates and things to tweak the parts of the performance that people griped about, basically all the improvements into this new boat. And he had the plan at max capacity making saltwater boats, Blackwood, Shearwater, the Sterling's flats boats,
right?
All of those. And I think people would call him up and be like, "Hey, Bob, I want to buy one of those, new bass boats that you've been working on that new mold for." And they hand him $80,000, and he was like, "All right, I'll take your money, and maybe 2 years we're going to be working it in between this and that." And people would just, I think between, at one point Bob was making 300 probably boats a year, 300, 350, something like that. And then, between 2009 and 2019, when we bought the assets and stuff from Bob, he had made a total in that 10-year span of 84 of these Sterling hulls.
Wow. So Sterling was truly a made-to-order boat.
Yeah, I think they did a couple boat shows and showed one, but they really didn't put any pressure on it. They were busy with everything else they had going on, and
Kind of seems similar to like how HCB and Icon kind of a thing. I mean, Icon's pushed a little bit more with Jacob Wheeler and that, but like that huge. I mean, they don't like HCB is not going to go under if Icon fails. It seems like it's a similar thing to Sterling and AMC. Like if the Sterling bass boat line didn't succeed, they still had all their other boats that they made. So the margin, and I guess let's just talk about that right now. Like the margins with bass boats, and this will kind of I'm going a little bit out of the order here, but margins with bass boats and why the hell are bass boats so expensive? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, because it's so labor intensive. There's so many details, especially if you do. I mean, I don't want to knock Champion because I love my Champion, but crawling inside of it and looking at the glasswork after building Gamblers, it's a joke. The Champion, I mean, really is. It's nothing like a Gambler as far as the build quality. So that detail in the hand lay and less chop gun and I mean, just look at all the wiring and gizmos and gadgets and parts and trinkets and every little piece. A saltwater boat, it's big. There's lots of flat panels. There's a lot less intricacy. There's less compartments. There's just way less stuff. And all that stuff takes somebody, having to order it, keep up with the inventory of all the parts, somebody installing all those parts. It takes more hands, more time. It's just really labor intensive. Especially these Sterling molds. The molds for all the parts weren't really made to be a mass produce high production rate. So nothing fit exactly right. You had to custom shave this part, and, it never came out of the mold the same, like it should. So you had to adjust every one. We never got a chance to really get to making and correcting and fixing all these things to streamline it. But that was our case. You're asking about bass boats in general, but it's still true. There's just so many parts on a bass boat, and that's why they cost so damn much. And then throw in electronics and all that crap too, and wires.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
to go. I mean, we're talking. The accepted price for a bass boat now is what, $100,000, right?
Pretty. I mean, yeah, pretty.
When
much.
you start thinking about it, like
$80,000 to $100,000.
what's what makes up outside of all the labor, just what makes up $100,000 bass boat? I mean, you got a $25,000 to $30,000 motor on the back. There's a third of your cost right there.
Yeah.
You have $20,000 in electronics on it. Now you're up to half the price of the boat, and you haven't even touched like what actually makes the boat. So, I get it. It's of why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
The cost of material has gone up.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
I mean, trailer, motor, all the electronics, boat, just you're talking $60-something thousand in just parts, in just materials.
Yeah.
That's no overhead, that's no building, that's no payroll, that's no insurance, that's no labor. It's just a lot, man.
Let's talk about the resins for just a second because I don't know. I know you said you watched a couple of our episodes before you came on.
Tomcat boats.
Yes, wasn't a live episode, but we did interview the folks at Roughneck Boats and Tomcat. So they're out of South Africa. If you watch the World, I'm going to misspeak on this. What was it, the World Bass Classic or something?
It was the World Black Bass Championships.
Yes, so the World Black Bass Championships, all the guys from Team USA were running the Tomcat, the FC Tomcat tri-hulls. Jurgen and Vincent, we interviewed them. We had a really good conversation. Yeah, fantastic guys. Had a really good conversation with them. And it's interesting because they operate out of Africa, a lot of their, like the EPA things that make resin so expensive don't apply to them. So, like, and I'm going to get, and I don't know if you have the questions in front of you, but it's question 10. So, like, how much of gamblers' problems were caused by COVID-19? And, you know, we're talking resin costs, supply and demand of resins and things like that, because it's no secret that COVID-19, I mean, the accepted price of a bass boat went from like 75, 80 to 100 like overnight, and it kind of hasn't come back down. So how much of that, like, I mean, for folks that don't know, like, resin's a huge part of it. And from my understanding is the price of resin kind of backs up a little bit too. So like if you're trying to build a boat in 2025, the resin, if you don't have some sort of a supply, or if you do have a supply, like the resin you purchased to buy that boat was probably purchased a year or two in the past. So if the market goes down, it's hard to meet that price. Is that, I mean, you can just kind of go wild on this one because I don't know a lot about it. I just know what I hear.
Yeah. So to answer the first part of your question, how much of a role did COVID play in the difficulties at Gambler? None.
Really?
No, it hadn't.
That's surprising. Again, I don't want to like steal your thunder or anything, but like I really thought you would have said that was a big, because a lot of folks really thought that was a big part of it.
Demand spiked for boats. Boat sales skyrocketed.
It did.
Wow.
So people were hitting the lake. They're looking for a place to get away. They couldn't go to work. They couldn't go to public places. I mean, boats were flying off the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, dealers couldn't keep them they couldn't keep them on the lot.
That's crazy to me.
I still haven't figured out how that $1,200 government check that came in like once or twice was enough for people to go out and buy boats, but they did it.
Right.
Well, the thing to get off the
what's up, Brian? Thanks for joining
the subject a little bit, but you had there's a lot of people that have disposable income.
Yes.
Pre-COVID, they didn't have time to use said disposable income. COVID comes around, and now they're working from home. They're home all the time. They can't, like he said, they can't go to work. They can't do this. They can't do anything else. Well, now they're not like they're like, well, I got $100,000 in the bank. Let's go buy a bass boat. Like I can go. I like fishing. I can go out and fish. It's not the $1,200 check and the everyday person that was buying them. It was the people that had established incomes and established jobs that didn't necessarily get affected by COVID from a financial standpoint.
Right. Yeah, and those people who didn't fish or bass fish are like, hey, I want to buy your used bass boat, and then the guy sells it, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna buy a new one. And it just it fueled the market.
You took a shot. You took a shot at Andy, and he showed up in the comments.
We have a gentleman named Andy Hauser in the comments. He says that man in the corner is a complete boat building genius, and should be building boats. More comments going. And should be building boats in this damn industry. Heath is the man.
That was very flattering, but it's pretty far from the truth. I'm not a boat building genius, but I do love it.
I'm just very and I'm sorry to belabor this point, but like the fact that you said COVID didn't have anything to do with it is just mind blowing to me, because so many people a lot of people that are involved in the industry, they say, oh, well, COVID really tanked the industry and COVID did this and COVID did that.
Tanked what industry?
Well, I mean,
the only thing that tanked the industry for COVID is it set expectations of sales so high that now that it's leveling out, they're not showing increase in sales.
Well, okay.
That's the only thing that COVID did to the industry. COVID was probably the best thing that ever happened to the fishing industry,
or the worst thing, depending on how you look at it.
There were some supply chain hiccups and issues, and some material shortages and things like that. Had we have been running full steam, and that it would have slowed us down a little bit, but in our particular case, it was not what was holding us up. It wasn't waiting on materials that was stopping production flow.
So let me ask you this, and I'm going out of order, and I apologize. I'm wearing the t-shirt. I'm a huge Team Marine fan. Andy, you're the man. Heard you got to meet Paul the other day. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I was supposed to be there, but I wasn't there.
We're sorry you had to meet Paul.
So, and this is a little bit loaded of a question. We all saw the Team Marine video when Gambler kind of came back, right? Andy went down there. You were in the video. You were featured. I mean, you were basically the star of the video, right? Everything was great. from a viewer standpoint, I remember watching that video and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, I am actively looking at my bank account as to when I can put a deposit on one of these boats. Everything looked great. And then things happened, and then things turned into what they were. I mean, how quickly did the script flip in terms of like everything was going well and then it just wasn't going well? Or are we wrong to assume that? Were things never really going as great as they were, and it just, you guys never really hit your stride, and then it just, one thing led to another type of thing?
We did not. So I get involved like a year, maybe almost 2 years before we actually got into the plant and started, building boats. So I spent a year kind of in prep, getting on the engineering side, getting CAD drawings of all the mold stuff, all the parts pieces, getting everything, bills of materials going, things like that. And when we actually got to the plant and started, I was a little surprised by the state of all of the other business aspects that, all right, we're in the plant, let's get going. Where are we? Where, SOPs, manuals, things like that.
See,
there was nothing.
Sorry to cut you off, but like as a military guy, like SOPs, manuals are like super important because it's a baseline, right? It's as simple as who does what, when, and why, and it just sets a baseline for those. Like, you think that people understand this is what I am in this, whether it's military, building a boat, or an auto salesman, mechanic. Like, an SOP is actually super important, especially with a new company that has people that haven't worked together or don't necessarily have years and years of experience in the industry. It's actually super important. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So it's like we just talked about, bass boat's not easy to build. It takes a lot of, especially certain parts of the process, it takes a lot of hands-on skill that comes from experience. And, a lamination schedule is not something that's easy to remember. So you need some sort of documentation. And, so to get back to answer your question, I was concerned pretty much right off the rip at that point. Once we were in the plant, I was concerned. And then never really got much better as far as my concern. I've worked with some really smart people in some small startup companies doing niche, in fact, the first two companies I worked for out of college, we were the only company. It was a novel technology. We were the only ones in the world that did it. And, we're talking teams of 5 to 10 people in the whole company. So small. And it just, I've seen how really well operated businesses are run and the things that are required to do that. And I knew we were playing catch up to get a lot of that stuff in place at that point. And I think that really hurt us. It set us back because then there was a lot of growing pain and, rework, a lot of parts that we just refused to use instead of trying to Band-Aid and make do with. And, that put us in the hole right out of the gate, and we weren't, extremely well funded to start with. So we didn't have a lot of spare financial capacity to deal with that.
So, like, man, I want to, like, the questions are kind of coming to my mind, and I want to stay on on topic here.
What CJ is saying?
So
standard operating procedure.
Yeah, SOP, standing operating procedure, and SOG. I don't know what a SOG is.
Okay. Right on.
So let me ask this, and we're a little bit out of order with the questions here, but like, so we kind of talked about this before the show. Like, Gambler had the following. It was, everybody knew what a gambler was. Like, anybody that's fished a tournament ever can point out a gambler and say, "Oh, I know what that is. That's a gambler."
It's
right?
the most recognizable boat on the water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Period.
100%.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Your opinion. I mean,
Yeah, that wasn't.
how what was the business model to make Gambler marketable? Like, how are you going to draw guys that have been in Rangers for 10, 15 years, guys that have been in Skeeters, Bass Cat, like what was the idea is to bring those types of folks that weren't necessarily brand loyal but had experience with a brand or a couple to Gambler?
Man, Gamblers look like the first Gambler I ever saw. I was like, dude, that is the Lamborghini of bass boats.
Oh, definitely.
Like that was my first thought when I looked at one, and I was like, I didn't even know anything about them, but right away I was like, I want one of those because it just looks so
I
cool.
feel like they're more like a Ford GT. You gotta get a little redneck in there.
No, I'd say it's more like the Mercedes AMG stuff, like the sporty, classy, lots of power. You know what I mean? Comfortable.
Yeah.
I would say that the owners of Gamblers that I know do not fit in that category.
Again, this is the ones we were building too. This is a newer era. Some of the other smaller boats, they were a different breed for sure.
So how did you plan to bring the market to Gambler? I mean, because like a lot of folks are really loyal to their brand, but a lot of guys that run cookie cutter boats, and this is no offense if you run a Nitro, Ranger, hell, even a Skeeter is a very mass produced brand, right? How did you plan to bring a lot of those folks to Gambler?
I really didn't get involved with any of that thought process until about a year, 8 months to a year after we got into the plant. And my role changed. But, at that point, I stepped back, I looked at it, I was like, if you look at the top 5% of the market that just want the most expensive thing, you take half of those away. And then you look at the guys who are traditional, just gambler faithful, that's all they want, they don't care. And then you go to just go down to all these little, niche market segments, and you add them together. That was plenty of business to keep us busy. That was more boats than we could build. It just with those, shoe-in people, it basically would take very little effort to get that business.
With that,
and that in itself, if we had been able to fulfill those orders, it was never a sales problem. We didn't have a lack of interest. It was a production problem. We were never able to get the products out. And then, when the boats went out, you talk about the appealing to the Skeeter and the, Ranger guys and, these people who just aren't familiar and maybe don't know anything about Gamblers. I would do demo rides, and I always laughed. People's eyes would just be huge when I pull back up to the dock, and they would be just amazed. Not like in terror, but just shocked, like pure surprise. Because they thought Gambler was just a fast boat, go fast, this, that. They had no idea that it was such a good riding boat, so comfortable in rough water. And you don't have to line up just right into the waves. The way the hull's shaped, it just angle, diagonal, straight in, straight down. And then you turn a corner and get into the long flat back stretch that's smooth, and you start trimming it up and letting it eat. And they look down and say, we're going 83 miles an hour in a boat that's comfortable in real rough water, like more comfortable than my Ranger and my Skeeter. It's not possible. It's a unicorn. This doesn't exist. It's not supposed to exist, but it did. So, if we had been getting the boats out to people and their buddies rode in them, at the same time while we're getting the next boats out, word would have spread pretty fast. I mean, really quick. I mean, this boat was not vaguely similar to something that you've been in before. Like me coming out of a champion, supposedly one of the better riding boats ever made. I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to the boats that we were building. I can't speak for the older Gamblers, but the Sterling era hulls were really phenomenal in that aspect. So, we would have gotten market traction with enough people to keep us busy very quickly.
So you mentioned more boats than you could build. Which just raised a question in my mind. Like, what was the production capacity that you guys were looking at? How many boats a year were you expecting to be able to build?
We needed to get to 25 a year to
Okay.
just
So it's just still a
to
relatively
tread water with the overhead where we were in the situation we were in.
Okay. So that makes sense because knowing the production capacities of some other more custom built companies, that's kind of right in line where they're only building maybe 30-40 boats a year, right? So that makes sense.
So I'm gonna actually, Chad, read question 12 because I think we gotta get into this a little bit because we're kind of right there in the conversation.
Oh man.
Well, maybe start with 7.
Okay, sure. How many boats did you guys actually make before the doors closed?
4 in the South Carolina plant.
4.
Really?
4.
Remember
thought it was more than
you
that.
kept sending me that
No,
gambler?
I knew it was low.
Remember when you kept sending me that gambler that was on Facebook Marketplace?
The one in West Virginia?
Yes.
Do you know what boat that is, by the way? It was blacked out. It was beautiful.
It was black and blue, I thought.
It was gorgeous. Oh my god, it was gorgeous.
So was that a question for me?
Yes, it ended up in West Virginia. I don't know if it was sold to somebody from West Virginia.
Yeah, so I know the first boat we built is the one we talked about earlier, is straight black gel, but I don't know of a black and blue one.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
Wow,
When that one came out, I looked at that ad so many times. I was like, I might want this boat.
All right, this isn't one of the questions on our sheet, but what did you sell them for? Like brand new out of the shop. I mean, I guess, and then there's
Sold them
options
for
in the
money,
center.
man.
For
What do
money?
you think?
Well, yeah. Okay.
Traded him for a couple jackhammers.
Yeah, what was the price? I guess what would if I wanted to get a gambler with some a 10-inch graph at the helm and a 12 up front,
Like a normal setup.
Yeah, normal setup. Like what was that boat going for?
I don't. There was a lot of variables in that, and I don't remember. I know there was some. I think we did a dealer boat that was in the 60s, but I don't remember what was on it and what wasn't. I would expect like a really nicely equipped, be in the start in the low 90s with everything just, the big graph at the helm, a graph at the front, trolling motor, poles, 250, all the, standard radio, apartment light stuff to be in the low to mid 90s.
But that's comparable.
So comparable to like a Ranger.
Not very comparable.
And it may be a little bit higher now. This is 3 years ago.
Right. But that's still, that's pretty comparable to like a Ranger. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A 521 is $110,000.
Which obviously, knowing Gambler and Ranger, I would rather buy a Gambler all day long, considering the Gambler
after what you've went through with a Ranger, I would never buy a
Ranger's quality
I would
control
never buy a
being a
Ranger.
freaking the Walmart of bass boats at this point is just terrible.
Yeah. I'm going to not say anything.
Chad, that's fine. Chad's been through some stuff.
Yeah, Chad had a little bit of a interesting ordeal with Ranger. I mean, they did take care of you. It just took forever.
Yeah. I mean, he had a defective hull in a Ranger aluminum boat, and they told him they'll take care of it pretty quick. And 8 months later,
I don't even
finally had a
believe the
boat again.
hull was defective. I think the technicians at Ranger didn't know how to set up the boat, and they didn't have the motor set right. Yada 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 yada, and it just didn't run right. And now I have a 2024 hull that is still slower than a bag of dog shit. So
It is slow. All right, Chad, I'm going to give you the hard question because I don't have the heart to ask Heath this
CJ
one.
had a hook in the hull. That is what they told Chad.
anyways, all right. Here is the hard question. What happened with people? He's not going to answer this question. What happened with people putting down payments or down deposits and they never saw the boat or they never saw They never saw the unfinished boat. What did end up happening with those people that did buy a gambler, and the gambler never came?
Right. So I left before any of that went down. So
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Yep.
So I left the day-to-day operations months before that happened. And yeah, I know that there was Steve Glenn at ST Marine. He had he was a dealer, so he ordered a dealer boat, and we had like the major parts done,
Mm-hmm.
and
I,
went out at right about the time I was leaving, but nothing was together yet. And he eventually went and picked up just the parts and hauled it back, and then he had the guys at Blazer helping finish putting it together.
I remember.
Um,
I remember seeing his Facebook posts of the progress of them putting that boat together.
and that's a wicked little boat. I mean, I haven't been in it, but it's the only other 20-foot 7 hull that got made ever in the history of in history. So we had the white test boat was a 20-foot 7, one of the new 20-foot 7 hulls, and then that boat was only other one made. So it's only 2 on the planet, and that boat's amazing.
I was gonna say it's probably a bad little boat.
I mean, they were awesome, and there's a bunch of comments that we've seen and we haven't really read them. But Joe has a really good comment. Joe says, and you don't have to, you can answer this if you'd like to, but how could such an awesome boat with interest just kind of go away?
So much interest.
I mean,
And it's such an amazing boat. Just like the product is real, and it's actually better than anybody realizes. I'm speaking from experience. Having an opinion before I, actually got to spend time in the boats, my opinion was pretty far off the mark. So, how does it go away? I don't know, man. Obviously, there was a bunch of business things that caused this slump, but I mean, it's not gone. That something's out there. I'm just not privy to what that is at the moment. But I mean, I hope it makes a comeback. Hope maybe even I get a chance to, be a part. And I think that's one of your other questions.
yeah.
Would I entertain, if they start building gamblers again, would I entertain? And hell yeah, absolutely. There's only one other boat company that I would consider working for, and that would be Ballistic.
I was really hoping you'd say bullet.
that's
Damn
sick.
it.
I've heard a lot of good things about Ballistic.
Ballistic just would so right after I left Gambler, I actually did a little Eastern United States tour of all the bass boat manufacturers, and I went and talked to all of them and was really just kicking the bushes to see if there were any opportunities for me to stay in it and see if there was anybody doing something that I felt was along the same lines as what I was trying to do at Gambler. And Jim was the only one. And the construction quality and what he's doing is so far superior to anything else that's going on aside from maybe Allison. I tried to go see Darius too, and he told me not to come.
You tried to go see who now?
Darius Allison.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Really? That's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Did he
I called
ever
him
say
and was like,
why,
"Hey,
or did he-
I would love to meet you and shake your hand. I have, so much respect for what you're doing in the boats and, the legacy. And I would just love to come meet you and see the place." And he said, "No, don't come."
Wow.
All right.
Damn. Holy crap. I mean, that's kind of a bombshell. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, obviously.
I'm sure there's some type of business reason or something of that nature.
Wow.
I really don't understand or know, but you can't just go right off the bat and just be like, that guy's a piece of shit. Like, you can't just say
No,
things
no,
like
I'm
that,
not saying
you know?
anything.
Definitely
I'm
not.
just saying it's just wild.
He seemed very defensive, unsure, leery Like he just thought. I think he thought I was up to something.
Like you were
Okay.
spying.
I don't
on
think
the
it was-
design to try to take it somewhere else, like something weird.
See how they're doing things,
Yeah.
or, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I don't. Yeah, trying to steal some proprietary information or something. I don't know. But I could just tell that
Wow.
he didn't. He was not comfortable with it, and he was very clear about that. He didn't want me
I'm
to-
gonna. We have a question in the comments, and I'm gonna let you say whatever you want to say about that, whether you want to answer this or not. Completely understood.
If
Chris
it's
Huff.
Chris Huffman's question, we just asked him that question, and that was the answer that we got.
What's that?
The same thing that Chris is the same thing that
Yeah, like how could it possibly fail?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So I don't want to put you through going around that question again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's right.
so sorry, Chris.
I mean, yeah.
We just asked that question, Chris. You jumped on about 2 minutes too late.
Andy said Alice. And Andy said he didn't want to share his information on the toilet of the boat. That's state of the art technology. Now I got a question for you, and for the folks that are watching, I'm going to spill some beans on this, and don't want to take away from Heath at all. We are going to have Mr. Bo from Stroker Boats on first week of December. I'm working on that. You heard it here first. Stroker Boats. They're making boats. They're coming on Bass and Beer Radio. First Friday in December. I think it's the 5th. December the 5th. I already confirmed it with the man today. We're gonna have a good conversation.
Stroker Boats.
Was Stroker Boats on your radar at all?
Yeah, actually, right after I left Bullet, before I went to Icon, I stopped in and spent a whole evening with Chubbs and Alice in Tennessee at their house talking about Stroker. Went through his workshop and talked boats and looked at all his stuff. And, he's got HydroStream, all that stuff there too. Everything was covered with dust, and a lot of the parts looked like they hadn't moved in a week or two. But yeah, it was really cool. The strokers are rare commodities, just like a lot of the other. Like you don't see a ton of gamblers out there, but you see even fewer strokers.
Right.
So it was
Correct me
cool
if
to
I'm-
get to see some.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but strokers are like when we talk about like low production boats, strokers were like the lowest. Like they're all custom. They're
I've
custom
never
ordered.
seen one.
Custom ordered. They build 2 or 3, maybe 2 boats a year or something like that. And it was extremely low production.
Yeah,
I don't think it was ever any like high production of them.
And I didn't even ask him like what his high years, like how many boats he did in his good years, and what were some of those numbers. I should have.
Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
figure
really
that
don't
out
know.
on December 5th.
There's one.
Yeah.
We have one stroker around here. You've
I've
seen
never,
it?
I've never seen. I've never seen.
I've
any
only
of
ever seen the
stroker
one.
boats
The
around
guy
here.
who fishes the fishes the
So
Conowingo
there's a
fishes
blue
everybody.
and white one, and there's a green and white one that I've seen on Conowingo, both of them. I actually seen both of them in the same tournament, which is pretty wild.
The green and white one is the one he fishes the Upper Bay too.
Oh, okay. Paul, do you want to ask him the number 11?
At what point did you decide to step away?
Yeah, that was in fall of 22. So I actually coming full circle. At one point, the writing was on the wall. I think we ran out of money the first time at like 9 months in, and we made some changes internally. I kind of stepped into. I became president of the company at that point. I just said, "Look, let me help. I've been around this stuff. I'll go raise us another round of funding, inject some new cash, and try to right the ship." So I did. Raised a couple $100,000, got us back going. We hired people. We had like 7 employees we got up to by late summer in 22. We were getting some good traction, but we just kept having some pretty major setbacks from not thinking some things through, sanding on molds, doing some stuff that just really just kept shooting ourselves in the foot. And then I realized that, look, this is not going to change. This stuff keeps happening. So I went and I talked with a business broker, got put together a pitch deck, got some financial backing, and I wanted to buy Scott out and roll potentially Allison and Stroker into that purchase and save all three of those brands. That was my plan. That's what I wanted to do. And I was going to start with Gambler. So I made an offer to my partner for 2.5, almost 3x what the valuation of the company was at the time. But then we had 7 people. Everybody was getting pretty good at their roles. We were making good progress on boats. And the business had some real value. It had some, I say real value. I mean, it wasn't astronomical, but it had value. It had tangible, value. It had good traction. And Scott vehemently refused my offer because I didn't offer him a continued role in the company. So at that point, I knew, plus it got pretty contentious. There was a lot of animosity. Little things started being conflicts, and it got to where just every day was a war, and it didn't need to be. It didn't have to be. Just couldn't get everybody to pull the rope in the same direction. So I knew then at that point that it wasn't sustainable. It was not. It was getting to be kind of a toxic work environment. But we had the silver boat we were working on for a guy out of the Atlanta area, and dude, I've never met someone more excited about getting a Gambler than this guy was. And there was a whole bunch of complications leading up with his financing, and it was off, then it was back on, and he finally got it, and we started working on the boat, and he was just like giddy as a little kid. So I knew I wasn't going to leave until we finished that boat. I was finishing that boat for that guy. And Thanksgiving, somewhere around Thanksgiving, I went to spend 2 days with my family. I was working 7 days a week, pretty much just about the whole time. But I went and spent 2 days with the family for Thanksgiving, and I came back in. Actually, I hadn't even got back in yet, and my phone started ringing, and it was some of the employees, and they were asking me what they did wrong, what happened. And I was like, well, what do you mean? You're doing great. And, we're actually doing pretty good. We're getting good traction. Everybody's doing the roles pretty well. They said, well, we got laid off. And I was like, what do you mean? I got back to the plant, after the holiday, and everybody had been fired.
Wow.
So, I mean, I really knew then, just not even a conversation with me about it. I knew then that, things had just gotten just so much tension, and, everybody's got so much on the line, and it just puts morale in a really tight bind, and so it was rough. I stuck it out, finished the boat. Guy was thrilled. The boat was amazing. It's gorgeous. The silver boat. I think I sent Tony some pictures of it at some point in the past, but, and then after customer came and got it, I went and said, look, guys, I can't keep doing this, the constant fighting every day and just the animosity. I'm just going to let the company do whatever it sees fit. I'm going to step out of the day-to-day operations. I'm available. Call anytime. You got my number. Happy to help with anything on the business side or anything like that, making phone calls, following up on stuff, whatever. Just let me know. But I just don't want to. I don't think it's a positive thing for me to be here. It's not positive for me. So.
Wow.
And I left. So that was my whole exit story.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's really
you gotta
just
do what you gotta
unfortunate.
do, man.
I mean,
at the end of it, you have to do what you have to do, and
and there was no fight. There were tears and hugs and goodbyes, and when I left, I mean, it was not like I left in result of a knockdown, drag out argument or something. It was on real good terms.
There's been quite a few comments actually that we haven't touched on yet, but there's a lot of guys in here that really think that you should make your own brand. You should design your own boot because you've got the brains and the means and the knowledge to do so. So I mean, take that as however you want to, as a compliment or whatever. But hey, man,
Huge
would love to see
compliment.
something new.
I would love to. It takes a lot of money to
Yeah.
kickstart a new boat business.
Yeah,
So it's definitely crossed my mind, and it's something I'm not ruling out. I've had some conversations with a couple of people. I just know how much it takes, and I'm not going to go into something half-cocked
Right.
after my
Understandable.
experience. So I need to make sure that we have plenty of financial backing there to develop, to test, to get that product viable. And that's a lot of money before you ever sell the first boat, before you hire the first person. It's a lot of work. So you got to float all that. So yeah, I would absolutely love to do it if somebody wants to just cut me a check for $6 million or whatever.
If you could go back and change
Well,
one, sorry. Go
I just
ahead,
want to address Chris's comment. Chris, earlier he's mentioned that they had the interest already, like, so it wasn't really a marketing thing that, as far as that goes. Chris just mentioned that he didn't really see much on YouTube about these things to generate interest, but they already had the interest.
the brand was already so popular that the marketing wasn't even necessary going across YouTube or anything to bring.
Now,
People
truth
are-
be told, marketing's always necessary. You just always be a big budget item because you
Right.
want to have attention and awareness in the market. But the way we were funded, we had enough sales that we could use that capital to do production stuff.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I just meant as a reason for them for it going down. You had the interest, right? That like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I remember when. So funny story. When I was still in college when Gambler came back, and I used to work at the call center. I used to call alumni at Virginia Military Institute and solicit donations and this that, and the other. And I would sit at my computer and I would look at bass boats. And the old Gambler website was up forever because there was never a Sterling bass boat website. So one day I was sitting there, the phone's ringing and my little headset on, and I typed in Gambler bass boats, and the website came up, and I was like, whoa. Whoa. Like, this is real, dude. This is sick. And it's like, it sucks because the boat was so awesome. And like, the funny thing of it is no matter what anyone can say about the brand, whether it's whether it's back from the 80s to Sterling and Sterling to Gambler, the revival to your part in it, nobody ever said that the boats weren't top line. The boats were always amazing. It's just, it sucks that these things happened, for various reasons. And, it's proof that you don't have to have a superior product and just things are just going to automatically work out. Like, the superior product is part of it, but you also have to make smart decisions, and you also have to you got to make every decision right, especially when you're a new company. You can't afford to screw up.
Right.
So it sucks that it didn't work out, because I think if things would have worked differently, I think Gambler would have really had a huge market share in this industry, especially today when so many boats are comparable. So many boats are comparable. Gambler was not in that category.
So, speaking of comparable, it just brought up a question in my mind. Was there any plan to, one of the things that I see with Gamblers is the cockpit is not modern. Everybody wants to run two 12-inch graphs, and with a Gambler cockpit, that's pretty much impossible. Did you have plans in the makings to make them more modern, to be able to facilitate the newer electronics and things like that?
Yes, I spent an embarrassing amount of time working on. So, like I said, I worked for 2 years before we actually got in the plant, and a lot of that was on the computer doing CAD work, just prep work, trying to do anything I could think of to get out ahead of where we're going. And sure, my imagination would take off from time to time, and I'd start working on it because that was the first thing I knew, and the first thing I brought up when I started said we really need to update the consoles to accept modern electronics and layouts, and just get them up to speed. And unfortunately, we just everyone was in agreement, but we didn't ever get to the chance of having the means and time to make new molds for the consoles. But this might be a good time to share one of those images. There's a deck concept CAD model.
I'm going to drive real quick. I don't usually drive, so bear with me here. I'm pulling up the... Okay, so what was the picture, Heath?
Deck concept CAD model.
Okay, pulling it up right now. Pulling it over to this screen so you folks at home can see it. Yep, all right, it's on the screen. Yep, go ahead, Heath.
Make it bigger.
Yeah, so that was just kind of the direction I had in my mind. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that you'd have to flush out as far as the details, but that's the general idea of the concept. So yeah, we absolutely put a bunch of thought into it, and we're aware of that situation for sure.
So there's a comment in the question, or there's a question in the comments. Do you know of what happened to the original 1900, 2000, 2100, and 2200 hull molds? Or
I do not, but Bob Ackerbloom would know. And they were, I think all of the Gambler assets were supposed to be a part of our deal, but somehow seemed to be a lot of stuff that was no longer there. So I know they say they destroyed some of the molds when they ended production of certain models and things, but that seems pretty wasteful to me. I don't think I would do that. I don't know why someone else would either.
Were you guys ever planning on making a less than 20-foot model, like a 18, 20, or 18, 19-foot boat to kind of keep the cost down to let the entry-level guy get into the Gambler?
Because there's no cost difference.
Oh, really?
No, it costs the same to make a 21-foot boat as it does a 19-foot boat. I mean, you're talking $20 less fiberglass and resin, gel coat, or whatever. I don't know.
It's the same amount.
They're really close. I mean, maybe $100 difference. I don't,
So you're, and then you're looking at this pretty much the same amount of hours for production. As far as work hours go for a 18-foot boat versus a
absolutely,
21-foot boat.
Yeah, just about the exact same amount of hours. So,
Interesting.
the people who are doing that, they're basically probably not making money on the smaller models, or they're making a lot more money on the larger models. I don't know which, obviously, but there's not actually a cost difference there. Now, like you see on price,
I mean, I guess the biggest. I mean, your motor is going to be less expensive. Certain things there. I think that's probably a big piece of why you see, when you're looking at a $15,000 motor that for a 150 versus a $25,000. I mean, there's a $10,000 cost difference right there, right? And that's kind of reflected in the price, because if you look at, having just bought a brand new boat last year, there's not a ton of difference in price between a 19-foot boat with a 200 and a 20-foot boat with a 250. It's essentially just the cost of the motor is all you're really saving. I mean, my boat was $70,000. A 19-foot with a 200 was $60,000, right? And that's pretty much just the cost of the motor. Right. It sounds like your hull there is about the same price. So
that's an expensive one line of computer code.
So interestingly enough, I'm going to cut back to scene 2 for just a second.
I'm laughing at Luke's comment.
So
Joe said he was going to buy a 17-foot nitro, but it didn't look appealing, and Luke says, "Yeah, that's because it's a nitro."
So looking at this picture, I mean, there's a dual flush mount going on. I mean, that's pretty cool. Did any of the boats that you sold have that dual flush mount thing, or did we not get to that?
We did it on KJ's, but it was not not built to accept it. We just kind of made it work. Had to build some handcrafted custom aluminum brackets for things and cut windshields and sand them down and repolish edges. And it wasn't, the boat wasn't made for it, but I definitely wanted to work that way. But you may see some pictures of KJ's boat floating around with the two graphs up over the steering wheel.
Let me ask this. So looking at this picture, I mean, maybe it's just from the angle, but it looks like the console design is a little bit more streamlined, not necessarily that super swept back, sleek look. Is that true, or did the console still look the same? It
This
just
is like
was built a
two
little
dual
different.
flush
Yeah,
mounts.
it was a lot less swept back.
Okay.
So what I did is I started with the stuff that you need as a fisherman. So, all right, I put my graphs up, and then, okay, you need a steering wheel. And then I just started building out the dash behind it. And it needed to fit between where the steering wheel was and where the front deck ended. And that's just where it ended up. It ended up being a lot less of the, slope back. So that, or we'd have to make the boat, a foot longer.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about the center storage. So I don't know, you may not be able to see my cursor, but the viewers can. So
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty cool. Let's walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, some of the stuff I'm not going to talk about at all.
That's fine.
But
I'm sure you probably can, but what you can.
No,
talk
I mean
about.
I can. We never did it, and it was in my ownership agreement that it was proprietary. It was, I own the rights to it if we ever got to it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, that obviously. Hey, if Gambler comes back again, we'll see it, right?
That's why this was a concept design.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. This is cool.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot going on in that front deck that's really cool. That I spent a lot of time thinking about, just sitting on the front deck of my boat. And it'd be better if it was this, but it wouldn't work because of that. And then just going through all the iterations and, what about this wasted space that's above my rods or over my, my 3600 boxes or so.
You have space.
So I don't.
You have space above your rods. You
I
don't have enough rods.
I don't know. You don't have to answer this question, whatever. But I'm looking at the center console, where it's kind of like you have the
center of the front deck.
It's the center of the front deck, not the center console. The center of the front deck.
It's probably the stuff you can't talk about.
Probably. But I'm looking at it, and it looks like there's like a U around the center of one of the.
Luke, this was a Gambler concept.
Yeah, it was one of the Gambler concepts, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, what would be the major purpose of that? That just looks crazy to me. It looks super cool.
In the front, one of the lids.
Right in the center, one of the lids is like a U shape around another.
That's the big thing that I was saying is that I can't talk about.
Damn it!
Called it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the transom for a second, because
also notice the number of latches on the rod lockers.
Yes.
Oh shit!
I didn't even see that. Wow.
I didn't even see that.
Is this a cliffhanger? Can you tell us
So
about that?
the door can open either way.
He can't talk about that. the look on his face says he can't talk about that.
Damn it!
I'm thinking about this right now.
Oh man, Heath, I hope to God you end up making bass boats one day, just because I want to know the answer. Let's talk about the transom for a second.
If that's the case that it could open both ways, that would be just side note.
Take my money right now.
So that I wouldn't have to, and I'm just.
You don't have to get in the boat to do shit with your rods.
I'm gonna shut up because I feel like I know what that's for, and I'm just not going to talk about it.
So let's talk about the transom for a second. And I want to get to the seats too. So the original Gamblers had like a straight transom, but this one obviously doesn't. Were all the ones that you built, did they have that cut in section, or were they straight?
Yeah, so all the ones we built were straight across the back.
Oh, okay, so this was a truly new design that just never came to fruition. Okay, wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we talked about the whole shot in the trim tabs and, some of the weight that's in the rear of the boat. The boat sat pretty low. When the 4-stroke motors came out, it was after this hull was already designed.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm telling him to go back to scene 2. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so this hull was already designed before the four strokes came out. So the motors are a little bit heavier. The boats sit a little bit deeper than they were designed to. It's not bad, but it's more than it should. That, and then you've got the whole shot woes with the trim tabs just by nature of removing some of that back of the boat. So kind of, and I feel like it. I didn't want to do it because I feel like it's copying some other boats, but it's just a good solution. Just having kind of sponsons that come out to add some more buoyancy in the back and a little bit more lift when you're trying to take off. So that's why I brought the back end up.
Steve
Now,
Glenn,
we never tested it and proved that was going to help or work, or it was going to do what I thought it was. But that's where in the concept. That's why it looked like that.
Steve Glenn says, "Sign me up.
Sign it first dealer."
Come on, Heath. Let's go. Let's manifest this. Now, this is super cool, man. Like, this is now. Let's talk about the seats for a second. Obviously, those aren't gambler seats. They're not.
Yeah, those are random things I pulled off the internet. Somebody else made in CAD, just so I didn't have to take time making seats.
Were you ever like a lot of these seats are going to like the NASCAR seats? Was that ever discussed, or were you guys gonna just kind of keep it simple with what you had?
It seems like a lot of these boats were like gambler boats and other things like. So one of the things I notice in my piece of shit Ranger is I sit really tall.
Oh, you sit so high.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like you sit so high, like in the Ranger, but when you go and you sit in like Tony's boat, it's like you're down in that bitch.
Yeah,
like
you're
like
you're riding down the street in my 6'4".
You're in that Lamborghini, you know what I mean? Down in at the water level, it feels like, but instead of being up on top of it.
Mm. Yeah, and I think there was a lot of people like sitting in a cockpit kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you had to sit real low so that your head was almost behind the windshield in a gambler because they were so low swept. The consoles were, but yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's nice to be down in the boat, feel secure, but also sometimes when you're trying to land a fish and get over the side, it's a little bit cumbersome with the gunnel in your armpit instead of down by your hip.
I just like being.
I know that was one of the things that KJ complained about, and we actually those seats that we used had flip up bolsters, so you could flip the bolster up when you jump up on the front deck, and you're sitting up high. And then when you go to reach down and scoop up fish,
did you guys look at air ride suspension seats?
Yeah, we did one or two of half of our boats had it.
So could
wow,
half of the boats had. Could you actually like adjust that to like sit higher or lower like as you wanted it? Is that how that worked?
You could, but no, you actually adjust the air pressure for your weight, and it's like a shock absorber.
Right. Gotcha. Didn't know
So
if
it wasn't
like
really
dual
for height
purpose or.
control. Yeah.
Were you guys ever going to do a center console? Because I know that was a gambler thing for a while.
Yeah, we had the mold for it, and some people asked about it, but there wasn't a lot of interest, so we never really started dusting off the molds and seeing if all the parts actually fit correct that came out of the molds or any of that. But yeah, we had the stuff to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely a niche thing for the go fast guys.
But I mean, Gambler definitely had a couple. I mean, like I think
Gambler.
Sterling had a few too.
Sterling had a few.
Sterling had some gorgeous ones. The center console ones.
Yep.
We have a question about heated seats, but I don't really expect the answer on that because it's just so much draw on whatever batteries you can fit in a boat. It's like, why bother
Like
doing that?
every new boat now has heated seats.
They do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
standard
that was absolutely coming on ours too. I had that in the works.
I just feel like the amp draw that it would take to have heated seats in a bass boat would just drain batteries so fast that what would be the point?
Well, you're only running them the heated seats while you're driving the boat, so the motor's running, so it's not really.
Yeah.
Unless you forget to turn them off, so your dog can lay on it and feel warm.
I mean, if they're connected to the ignition, then they'll. I mean, they're gonna shut off, right?
Yeah. Would have wired it into that relay that is on and off with the accessory.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm flipping through some of these pictures right now, and like I'm really upset that this is not
just
a reality.
FYI, Frank's
damn it.
Frank's Charger came with heated seats. That's a 2019.
That's crazy, dude.
Oh
So,
my god, man!
were
these
there
things
any
are so
questions
awesome.
left on your list that you wanted to get through?
I don't think so.
No,
Or
I
maybe-
think
did-
there might have
did you-
been. I think there was a couple. Chad, did we go back to Maine? Is that how that works? Guest speaker. Okay, let's go back to the questions and let's hit those real quick. Okay, so this is about the future of Gambler, right? So I'm gonna put two questions in one. The first one is, I think it's question 13. So like, obviously right now shop's empty, Gambler's done. Are we gonna? There's the molds are in a barn somewhere, and maybe not. Like, are we gonna see Gambler again?
I hope so. I have no idea. But I genuinely hope so because I fell in love with the product. It's so I haven't been anything else that is more impressive yet. So I really hope other people get to experience that.
Andy
Andy
Hauser
says he can make two
yeah,
phone calls and get 5 million.
start January 1st.
At 6, take 6.
Sorry, Andy.
Six.
I think the last question that we have here is, if you could go back and change one thing about Gambler, what would you change?
How much money we started with? Maybe if we had started with 6 million. No, I mean, if I could. So what would I change, or what is there one thing that I could change that I feel like would have changed the trajectory? Those are kind of two different questions. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. There's so many things, and they're all interrelated, that it's hard to. I don't know if changing any one particular thing would have changed the world or made a difference, but it would probably taken 2 or 3 things, and it really would have been a lot different. But it's just tough.
This is kind of a loaded question. I know you said that you had left before the whole deposit debacle, but one of the folks commenting, Mr. I want to say Mr. Dale. I don't want to say his last name.
He's commented 2 or 3 times now,
Yeah,
asking the same question. We kind of avoided
Yeah,
it. But,
and he said, "Are us depositors, assuming he made a deposit, and again, you may not be able to answer this, are they going to get their money back? He sent Gambler a pile of money and never saw anything." That sounds like it was before. That happened after you left. But do you know anything about that?
When I left, we had just finished the silver boat and finished getting paid for it, and I don't know what happened. So I knew that we owed a bunch of people a bunch of money and boats. We owe people boats, but I didn't feel like it was possible. And I explained the situation, and I left. So anything that happened after that point, I was completely shut out of. I have no idea. But I know that the people that I have talked to, and there have been several people that were interested in buying Gambler, and I think maybe even made offers to Scott, that called and spoke with me about coming back to work with the company. And all of those guys that I spoke with had intentions of making good on the deposits. If they were, if they bought the company, if it moved forward, there were provisions in there to make good on those, whether it be refunding the deposit money or following through with the boat and putting that amount towards the next build. And anybody I talked to, I tried to make sure that was going to be a part of it in order for me to be a part.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate you answering that question. I know it was after your departure. There's another.
Andy says $6 million, no problem. Let's go.
So another friend of ours, Mr. Joe, says, and again, you may have knowledge of this, you may not. There was apparently a customer that paid for an outboard. It was sent there. Do you know anything about that? Was that after your departure? I guess presumably he never got the outboard. Is that factual?
Yeah. So I heard about this. I wasn't there, but I do know that there was an outboard that got put on a boat that neither belonged to the person that they were sold to.
Wow. So it sounds like the situation at that time was pretty desperate to just get boats out I don't even know. I mean, again, you obviously weren't there, but
I think we got a perfect response in the comment for that.
I think that's the only response we needed. There's nothing more that needs to be added.
Well, Joe mentioned in the comments that's a question for a lawyer, not Heath.
Yeah.
Yeah. this is the type of thing I was worried about, and part of why I left too. I kind of started to see some hints of stuff like this might be coming and going on, or the wheels were turning on these kind of things. I was like, man, I don't want any part of that.
Wow.
Have you guys seen one of these new gamblers here in Maryland yet?
Well, he said the motor went to Maryland. He didn't say
That's
the
what
gamble
I'm
went to
saying, but
Maryland.
it's got to be on the back of a gambler.
It doesn't
property.
have to be. Doesn't have to be.
I've never personally put my
Well, there's
eyes
only
or
four.
hands on
There's
one.
only four of them, so they're probably not that hard to track down.
I can remember this. I went to fish headwaters in Florida in 2022, and we drove over the 95 bridge at Lake. Hold on, we drove right by the place. I can't remember the fucking name of the place.
Marion.
Yes, drove right over it, and I saw Gambler, and I wanted to stop so bad. But it was about 5 of us in a convoy going past it, and nobody wanted to stop. And I was like, you assholes. Like, don't take this from me. Don't take this from me. And we never stopped, and I wish I would.
Do you know what we do on Friday nights?
But, it just, man, I feel sad for the industry that this didn't work out. You know what I mean? And Heath, you've answered all our questions in the best of your ability, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and helping us out, because
Thank you so
like
much, Heath.
this
We
has been a really
appreciate
good discussion,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate that it didn't work the way it probably should have, because I think that we all agreed that the product was awesome, and the product absolutely had a place in this market, and it sucks that it didn't come to fruition at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I know I've had a couple people mention to me that they're here in Scuttle that there's something going on. So let's all cross our fingers and hope that that there's a viable team behind it, and these boats get to make a comeback, because they, I think you asked me, some of these older, more iconic brands, are they worth saving, or should we just let them go? The answer is hell yeah, they're worth saving, but not all of them necessarily. And this is absolutely that boat, that hull. I mean, even if you let go of the brand, that boat's it's phenomenal, and it's worth saving for sure.
Wow. Well said, brother. I mean, very, very well said. And, hopefully if it does come back, I hope that you're in the picture again. Obviously somebody who knows a lot about boat building and is passionate as you are about it.
Absolutely.
I think you would, if it does come back in the future, it would be a very, very huge asset to the brand to have you back there. And I just hope that if it does happen, that you're a part of it. And, obviously I have a huge affinity for bullet boats, but if the right gambler comes along for the right price, you're going to see me with a gambler in the driveway, just because it's so fucking cool. Heath, you've been with us for over 90 minutes. Well, really over 2 hours, because we brought you in early. Is there anything else that you'd like to say just on your behalf, or for some of the fans that are watching, about Gambler, or just anything at all that you can think of that you feel is worth mentioning?
I'm just kind of bummed we didn't get into all my nerdiness over here that I got all
We
set
still
up.
got time. We still got time. Seriously.
Yeah, I actually was hoping we could get through all this stuff, because we're probably going to lose 90% of people in the first 5 minutes of me rambling about this technical stuff. But
Actually, we have the most viewers that we've had all night long right now.
Yeah, so now's the time, brother. Let's rock and roll. Let's
go.
All right. Hey, maybe some of the stuff that I had on here. So we talked about ballistic, the test boats we talked about. I think somebody said something about the Green Dirty Money boat in one of the other podcasts. I'm not aware of him having any issues with that boat. I think the one that was being worked on by other people in Florida was the Steve Glenn's boat that was being put together by the guys at Blazer.
And S2.
Oh, Steve, that would be the Steve Glenn that's in our comments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Now it all makes sense.
I keep in touch with everybody who's bought boats. Nobody's had a single issue with any of the boats that we built, that we got out while I was there. The 4. Let's see. Yeah, I mentioned all the employees didn't just leave; they were actually fired. I didn't know about it either. Yeah, so that's most of that. My list from the other things, and then hull design. So, all right. So, Paul, you got a Skeeter?
I do.
and then we got the Ranger, and then we got a Bullet guy here.
Yep.
It's okay to be upset when you say the Ranger name. I understand.
I hurt for you.
Damn, dude. The fishing platform's great. It's just
It
the
is,
hull.
it is,
It just
it
doesn't
is.
run worth a fuck.
It's
But
okay,
the
but
fishing platform is awesome.
Honestly, they're not complete junk. They're just not what they used to be.
that's
You know what
for
I mean?
sure. Yeah,
It's just
100%.
not, what made Ranger. That's all. And I just like to give them a hard time because of that.
But let's hear about your
Fine.
nerdiness.
Johnny
Let's
Morris
go.
has enough.
Yep. So, part of what makes Gambler different is where most of it is just the shape of the hull, the running surface, and the way the weight's distributed. We talked a little bit about the drain plug being moved forward and shifting that center of gravity. So if you want to pull up this picture so you guys can see it, you can, have it so everybody else can too. But the hull forces photo,
Okay, yep.
it's just a little diagram that talks about the different hull forces and what's going on.
Yep, we got it up on the screen now.
Yeah, so you've got the thrust from the motor, you've got your angle of attack of the hull. Now he doesn't mention the angle of attack of the aerodynamic side, like the top of the hull. So you've got two different things going on there, and then obviously drag, and then you've got the weight of the boat, the weight of the motor. Those things are both that balance that we were talking about, the impacts setback. Just wanted to look at this real quick and have this on your mind when we start looking through some of these other hull examples, and kind of having that balance and the lift and all this stuff kind of in the back of your mind. So if you want to, let's see, there's a folder that says other hull and pad designs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you go back to the left side, Chad, and then
Close that.
yep, just exit out of that and other hull and
first
pad
folder.
designs. Yep, first folder on the left.
The folder. All the
All
way
the way on the left. Yep,
That
there
one.
you go. Okay, go ahead, Heath.
So
Just grab a
which
picture,
pad
open
do
it,
you
tell me
want to
which
look
one you
at?
opened.
Which one do you want to look at?
We have Allison Basscat Champion, Hydrostream, New Triton, Older Triton. Ranger, piece of shit.
And I don't know exactly which model of Ranger that is, but this is broad strokes, just general. I couldn't find I guess after what we were talking about with the Darius being
Champion.
so protective, I couldn't find a good picture of an Allison pad. So,
So this is we got the champion one up on the screen.
okay, great. That's a great one to start with. Here, let's pull up. Where's my champion? So, if you look at that hull, everything's pretty straight. There's not a lot of curvature except
It's
for kind of
very aerodynamic.
Yeah, but if you look at the keel as it, you got this real sharp kind of pointy keel, and it goes all the way to the trailing edge, all the way down to where
All the way to the back.
quote-unquote pad is. Now the wedge, it gets fairly flat, but this is what I would consider like a convex pad or like a pointed. It's still got a good bit of like V to it. You're going to lose a lot of lift there, but you're going to gain some comfort, some ride quality if you ride on that part of the boat. However, I can speak from experience that see how flat the boat is on either side of that center section, like where those next two strakes are.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're riding and you got the bow up, it's rough, man. It will beat your teeth out. So there's really not a lot being gained by having the furthest back part of the pad not be flat. And
Never heard that about a champion.
Generate
That's pretty interesting
tons.
that you say that.
Yeah.
Well, no,
of
that's because a champion's not rough. When the having owned a champion, you're not up on pad when you're not running rough.
Right.
Like you have to get that wedge into the waves and cut through them for it to not be rough.
Another thing about this is if you look, it's got the real, deep swooping keel in the front, the wedge that I was just talking about to cut the waves. You drop it and kind of plow through them. And it works great when you're going right into the waves or right down the waves. But when you start quartering a little bit, you see probably just, where the glare is on the front side of the hull.
Yep.
You see the shop light glare. Just to the left of that, you see that kind of round bulgy part?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's sticking out like that. That will beat your brains out if you start quartering.
It's amazing to me that people that have the mind that you do can look at that and be like, that's a problem. Because to the normal eye, I look at that and I'm like,
That's the bottom of a boat.
that's the bottom of the boat. That is a nice,
Like,
sleek
yeah,
design.
that's
That
cool.
looks
Like-
great, but you can look at the subtle differences in the bottom of this hull and tell that that's going to make a difference in how a boat rides. That's incredible.
Part of that is I own one of these, and I felt the difference, and then I crawl under it and I figure out why. But yeah, thank you. It makes me feel smart. So that's enough of that one. So
Do you
we
know
got
what model? Do you know what model champion that was?
I think it's. I don't remember. It's off my buddy's. He does fiberglass repair. He's got a rotisserie.
Yep.
So he's got tons of pictures about it. I don't remember what it was though. Might have been a 193. Don't quote me though.
That was it. Definitely it looks wide body. Looks like a newer wide body champ. But anyway,
Yeah, it could be.
that's just me
Yeah.
champion nerding.
But it's the shape's real similar, even like to my 202.
Yeah.
The narrow 202. It's a very, very, very similar. Next, let's see. Which one do you guys want to see just based on brand?
Stratus.
I kind of wanted to see the
Alright.
Ranger, but
I'm curious.
Do
about
we
the
have a
Stratus.
Stratus?
Yeah.
All right, so you check out the Stratus. It's got a pretty flat pad there in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got some steps on the side, so you're generating some lift. You got some tracking with those little steps. And that's going to be something we'll probably mention again here in a second when we go back and look at the Gambler pad compared to all of these. But all in all, it looks like the strakes may be a little bit more strategic. See how big the second or probably first set of lifting strakes are on either side of that pad.
Oh,
did I
Chad clicked
just
on the
do?
wrong thing.
You hit the arrow.
Okay, so all right, so there's like the center pad and then a little bit of a step down. Are you talking about the ones after that, or are you talking about
Yeah,
that small?
so
Okay, gotcha.
You see how big those are compared to all the rest of them? That's pretty interesting.
They're like double the
and
size,
worth
yeah.
noting. So the size and placement of those strakes is really important. So they do a couple things. One, they generate a little lift. So the water's going up this slanted surface, then it hits that flat surface, and the flat surface also rides. And flat surface generates the most lift to get the boat up, get it dry,
Okay.
and get you speed. But flat surface is also rough. So this is kind of how you can get a little more lift out of that smooth riding V without making it completely flat. But we'll come back to that. And then the strakes also divert spray off the hull. So it sheds water like above the water line as the water's riding up the boat. And the longer it's on there, it's dragging against the boat. You're basically hauling it around. So the quicker you can get it to shed off, the less drag that you're going to have. So let's go to the next one. These were pretty good hulls, by the way. If you guys are familiar with Stratus, the Pro XLs, a lot of them ran pretty good. Now, some of them might have had handling issues or might not have been super smooth, but as far as they were pretty good for performance.
I know my
heard
buddy
the-
has a Javelin, which is the same hull.
I heard the SS ones were the fastest.
So do you want to go to a stroker
Ranger.
pad?
Hold
on.
Or
Ranger.
you want to go to let's go to the Ranger. Yeah,
Yes.
that would be great.
It's a real Ranger. It's a fiberglass one.
Oh, sorry.
But if you look at the bottom of that boat, it's actually pretty damn boring. There's not much going on there.
I noticed that it's not flat on the pad.
It's not flat on the pad. I noticed that the cutoff in the center is a little bit more forward than some of the other pads.
Yeah, and it gets sharp a little bit farther forward, going forward.
Mm-hmm.
That literally looks just like my old 518 VX. I wonder if that's a VX hull.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know which model this is either, like I said. But just looking at this is just not going to be a superior at anything hull.
Just
it
kind
may
of
plow.
decent at everything.
I don't know if I'd call it decent. This is just not impressive.
Fantastic.
It looks like
Good
you
job,
see the
Ranger.
big flats on either side. In this picture, it's the top and bottom, like the
Right.
biggest flattest part of
Right.
the bottom of the boat. It just looks so close in height to all the other steps going down the hull towards the keel.
Yep.
It almost
It's
looks
just gonna
like
be
it's like
super
concave, like
wet.
when it gets to the top. Like it almost looks like it wraps back around, like to the water almost.
I think that's an optical.
Which
It's
is-
an optical illusion, but
Mm-hmm.
it does look that way.
Well, that's actually how the Gambler hulls are. So that's not in and of itself a bad thing. but you got to get all that flat surface up and out of the spray.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to be like dragging a parachute around. All right,
Which is why
so
Rangers are so slow.
Hey, easy.
Yeah,
Damn.
it is. It
Okay,
is.
my
That's
bad,
why.
that's
That's
pretty
why we
slow.
looked at it. It's
Yep.
Makes
Makes
sense.
sense
Part
now.
of it. So next,
What else do we have? We have the Ranger Hall. We can go to.
Let's go to the older Triton Hall
the
since they were
Stroker, or we can go to the older Triton.
Since the older Triton Halls were pretty fast.
and
There's
you'll-
that's that big pad again.
It looks very flat.
It's kind of got that concave thing going that we talked about that we just talked about a little bit.
yeah, up on the closer to the kind of
The ceiling.
the main chine.
You can kind of see it like kind of wrapping
Yeah,
back
but that
around.
flat pad. So you guys are already starting to pick up. Oh look, it's flat. It's going to have more lift. It's probably going to be a little bit faster boat.
Mhm.
And you're right. All right. And, I guess next will be the newer Triton hull. Be logical next.
Yeah. Not now. They don't have a flat.
Yeah.
It's not as flat anymore. Interesting.
Also notice how small the strakes are. The lifting strakes. They're like barely little ripples.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
And
that's
which ones
pretty
are
noteworthy too.
What,
You know that?
when we're talking about the lifting strakes, can you tell me what that is again?
Yeah, the ridges that you see running down the boat.
Is that the
Like-
so all of them considered lifting strake? Okay.
Yeah, so anything outside, so you got the pad, the little
Yep.
center, like
Gotcha.
from the keel to the first little edge, is what we'll talk about as the pad, and then it'll go up, and then
Yep.
you'll hit a
Okay.
little ridge. That's those are lifting
Yep.
strakes.
Gotcha.
People call them chines sometimes, but really the chine is the outside edge, that last sharp edge before it goes up the side of the boat. Is
Oh,
the
okay.
chine.
Yeah, because
And
that
that's
was
what-
the,
When
that's
people
what I
say
was thinking.
chine walking, it's going from one chine to the other chine.
Wow.
So, just FYI, I'll insert here. These little bitty lifting strakes like this are really easy to laminate, like super easy, very fast, not extra effort in bonding putty and core materials, and it's a money saving thing more than a performance.
Let me ask you this: since we're talking Tritons here, a lot of folks think Triton's going away. What do you think about that?
I think Triton made an awesome boat until something significant changed. I'm not sure what, but it was a pretty strong demarcation in the direction and quality of the boats.
Does it have anything to do with WRM?
I mean,
This
it
new-
could. I don't know. I wasn't there.
So
I don't know.
this newer hall looks substantially deeper than the one that we were staring at before I went to go take a piss.
Well,
Maybe.
Well, the pad's a lot different. The
looking
pad's
at it,
a ton different.
I mean, it looks way more
We-
like the
we
Ranger
don't-
Hall.
Yeah, we were looking at
a good
the
point, Paul.
front
It's a
of the
really
other
good
boats
point.
that might have a different.
Just a different
illusion.
angle. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Paul brings up a really good point, and I agree. Paul said it looks a lot like the Ranger Hall. Again, you don't work for White River Marine, but like,
Thank God.
yeah, right? Do you think that there's a lot of similarities between the current Ranger Hull, the current Nitro Hull, and the current Triton Hull? Because it
Actually, I
seems
take-
like there is. In my
Take that
opinion.
back. If you work for White River
Current?
Marine,
I
it'd probably
really
be a lot
don't.
better product.
So I haven't seen all of these latest greatest products, and I'd really grab these not really as much to throw stones at these brands, but just to show.
Oh, I'm
the
not trying to throw
different
stone. I'm
hull
just
designs.
seeing, are there similarities between them? Like, that's kind of the whole thing that I was looking at. Because this looks...
This looks like a lot. Well, a lot of people that are critical of White River Marine say, "Oh, they're all made at the same plant." But like Paul said, this does look a lot like the Ranger.
But they're not
Hull.
made at the same plant. So that's, that's false.
Yeah, but
because
if
Guess
the
it
parent
depends on
company
when it was
runs
built.
all the same plants,
it doesn't depend on when it was built because the Triton plant still exists. It's the same Triton plant that they were always made in. It's just owned by White River Marine now.
Right.
So, like, people like to throw that around. Oh, all these boats are being made in the same plant. They're not. So it's
Yeah,
that's
they're not
kind of
being
a-
made at the local Bass Pro Shops.
right.
Right.
Like
Except
when
the
White
aluminum
River
ones.
Marine bought them, like they bought the plants. They didn't just buy the name Triton and start building them randomly in
Paul.
in the
Oh,
sorry.
we got you, bro.
Drop the mic, Heath. That's what I'm talking about.
I appreciate that.
All right, so just to speak this part along, let's jump on one of the performance ones. Let's look at the stroker pad, the white one, the white picture. It
Okay.
says worked.
There's two. Is this the one you wanted, or there's
said
a
the white one.
The one
Okay,
that's
sorry,
the white
it said
boat upside
Stratus.
down.
Yep, that's the one. Again, a very wide pad, flat.
But look at the difference.
It's
like,
so
there should just be
stepped.
a ton of stuff screaming at you when you look at this picture.
The
It's one, how tall and sharp the strakes are,
yeah, that's the first thing that I
Yeah.
noticed.
and the
Yeah.
pad.
That-
So this boat's going to be a handful because as you increase speed with those strakes and that pad being super tall, the boat has to transition up that big step, and it's going to be, half on, half off until you pop. So you'll hear people talking about a boat when it pops up on pad. That's what usually that comes from people having experience in boats like this that have a big step. It's
Okay.
gotta-
But let me. So I think I understand what you're saying, but like when you're like in the bullet, like so a lot of people think when you're running a boat like a Skeeter, I used to do it with the Ranger. You just put it on pad, you trim it all the way up in your own pad. But like with the bullet, there's
that's on plane. That's on plane. That's not on pad.
Well, yeah, Rangers probably never get on pad. But either way, but it was like with the bullet, like I can be on the pad and then I can like there's a very small sweet spot of when you hit that trim and then you feel that thing jump. Is that kind of what you're describing?
It could be, and it's not usually trim related. It's speed related. Like you'll get to a certain speed where that surface that's touching is creating enough lift to pick the boat up and let it get to the next step. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
It basically,
can you not get to that speed unless your trim is where it needs to be?
it depends on the boat. Some boats are super fast, even at neutral trim, and it takes very little positive trim.
It's like a what's it called? Stealth made a bass boat like that.
My
right?
bass boat experience has been ruined.
What is it? Stealth that made a boat that was just like super fucking fast like that.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something like that.
Stealth.
I don't know. But anyway, this is a really fast hole. It's been worked. I can't remember the boat that it went on. It's a stroker, but I think it was a named boat that this guy does a bunch of stuff with. But super wicked, very fast. It's going to be probably super stable in the hundreds, but like it might have a couple spots as you go through the speed range that could be a little bit squirrely. But that big flat pad, tons of lift. Probably at the sacrifice of a little ride quality, obviously but you're not usually riding on that part of the boat.
Let me ask this question. What is it like if we're looking at this picture? So my bullets does this. So like from 65 to 70, it's squirrely. I mean, it's real squirrely. But
Your bullet has also never
Squirrely.
run the speed that it's meant to run.
well, but from 70 plus, it's smooth. So like,
Okay.
why does that phenomenon happen where like, and a lot of older Triton guys will say the same thing. Like from 60 to 65, it's nasty, but after you hit a certain speed, it's on a string.
What do you feel when you say squirrely?
It's really it's the chine walk. It's full, like the corrections are constant, and then when you hit a certain speed, it's smooth. Like it's
Yes.
on it. You
So-
don't have to do nothing.
It's trying to climb from one set of chines to the next, and you're riding in the wedge in between those. So as you increase speed,
Why does
It's
that
actually
make so?
super
That makes
smart,
so
dude.
much sense.
yeah. So as you
that's
increase
awesome.
speed, the part of the boat that's touching the water generates more and more lift, so it takes less and less of the boat. So it's gradually getting shallower, less deep in the water as you go, and that water line's working down the hull. And when you get on those parts that don't have any downforce out there, and it can get kind of wonky, wobbly. And then as soon as you get it up, and the faster you go, the firmer the water gets, the more stable it is anyway. But it's probably you're in between those steps at that
Wow.
speed.
Man,
Smart.
I'll tell you what.
That makes perfect sense.
Remember when we were at Anna last year and I rode with Kevin for the first day?
Yes.
So me and Kevin in his Skeeter, he's got a 250.
It's a hydro. It's a Nispro show. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a 335.
But so this boat was
32?
running 82 miles an hour, and Kevin could just take his hands off the steering wheel.
And
And
what
this-
was it again?
It's a Skeeter FX20.
This boat
Yeah.
ran. I mean,
So-
it was one of the fastest boats that I've ever been in. I haven't been in a ton of bass boats, but it's been one of the fastest boats that I've been in, and the stability of this boat was just phenomenal.
I think you meant stability.
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 Like stable with a
stable.
TY.
Put it in your fuel. It's good for the fuel.
I think it stays weird. I mean, I get it. Yeah, so that's just horsepower overcoming inefficiency. That's all it is. Like, in order to go fast with a given amount of horsepower, to go faster, you have to increase the horsepower or you have to reduce the amount of boat that's touching the water. That's how it works. So if you keep reducing the amount of boat that's touching the water, eventually it's going to get a little bit of instability that you're going to have to balance, just like riding a bicycle. You know.
Yeah. There was
But,
none of that on the Skeeter. It was just he could go like this, and it would just 82
How,
miles an hour.
how
just like
fast was
straight.
that boat without 330 something horsepower?
That I'm not sure.
It would barely touch 70.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not an efficient hull design. You
Yeah.
take the 250 and you put that same 250 and you put it on, a 21-foot 9-inch Gambler Sterling era Gambler hull, and it runs 82, 83.
Right.
True.
So I mean, it just is in the hull. It's not a soup. They took all of the, those big straights and the steps and all that thing. They get you more speed with less horsepower. This guy basically horsepowered through all of the hull inefficiencies.
Gotcha.
But that's why it's not jumping any steps. It's just a V. There's no changes, so it doesn't have a squirrely. That makes perfect sense.
On
Right?
this
It was-
boat, a question. So on the picture that we're looking at, like at the peak of the pad, it comes up to a peak. It looks like there's a very narrow depression, and then it comes up again. What's the reason for that?
One is to kind of channel some froth from the spray to capture some of that, probably.
Is that
The other
worked or
is
is that a factory
probably
design?
The other is probably tracking. And
Okay.
this is guessing. Like, there's probably somebody that can comment that can tell you for sure that, we tried it this way, we tried it the other way, and it did this. But, you can imagine if you were on just a piece of plywood, behind a boat with a ski rope, the thing's squirrely all over the place. There's no directional tracking. It's like being on ice. Water ski or a wakeboard's probably real similar, but until they put the fins on it, and then you've got to carve the edges real hard. But it's probably just a form of to keep the boat from tracking, like in turns a little bit.
So with this boat, are we talking and this is like, I'm definitely, this is after dark, so I can say this. I'm on the spectrum. All right, I'll be the first one to tell you. Is this a combination of hydro and aerodynamics at this point?
Not at this point. This is
Okay.
all hydro stuff.
Okay.
But that's coming. So, and I think we've hit the one I do want to show is the HydroStream. And this is Howard Pipcorn. I'm going to give him credit for developing this whole hull pad straight geometry. I don't know if he was actually the original guy that did it, but it was his stuff that I saw first. So somebody could probably correct us on the history of that too. But this is I don't remember if it was a HydroStream Vector or one of the little speedboats. And this hull probably it set the stage for most of the modern boats. And you looking at this is a really old boat. This is before any of the boats that we've been talking about. But see that it's got kind of a concave hooked pad in the center. It's got the little steps on either side, and then it's got some pretty pronounced strakes as you get there to the back. I also notice that everything's got a nice taper to it, kind of like a teardrop or a foil, hydrofoil shape.
So Brandon Piscatelli, and I apologize if I butchered that last name. Piscatelli, sorry. If you had the ability to build your own hull, would you make your own design from scratch, or would you work off modifying something that's already there?
It would be easier to work off something that's already there, but I don't have anything.
Sorry.
I would definitely steal some stuff from other people's boats, for sure. Some of the stuff we're looking at here, some of it would go into the design, some of it wouldn't. But how I physically brought it to life, I'm not sure. Like if I had a 202 mold, that'd be kind of cool.
Heath, what's your opinion on Camus?
I think they're pretty similar to the other brands. I've never been in one. I haven't been in like any of the brand new boats from the big manufacturers. I spent a bunch of time fishing co-angler stuff and riding in other people's stuff. Probably 5 to 10 years ago. So I'm not real up to speed, but nothing stands out as awful. Nothing stands out to me as exciting either.
Luke said Camus is just a Ranger but uglier.
What about Phoenix?
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it.
What about?
You can't hide that from the comments, man. The comments are always going to come in.
What about Phoenix? Like everybody has a Phoenix.
I do like Phoenix. I think they're a good looking boat. I think they're probably one of the better performing of the cookie cutter mass production stuff right now. I don't know anything about the build quality or longevity, but
and they have great contingencies, so
true.
That always helps for the tournament guys.
It's a sexy boat, and I think they're a little quicker than most of the other boats right now.
They are a quick haul.
Yeah, they're pretty quick.
They are a quick haul.
Money's not an option.
Tony's Bullet's about to smoke these mofos, though.
True. Money's not an option.
Bring your snorkel.
You can get any boat right now, brand new boat for speed, fishability, tournament, whatever. What are you picking and why?
Ballistic, hands down.
Interesting.
Damn it!
I was hoping you were going to say like I was hoping you were going to say the Bullet 21 SS because that's a quick boat. It's fast as shit.
Yeah, and it might be a close second.
Interesting.
Based on what's available on the market right now, for sure.
Is it the build quality of the ballistic? I know Andy said that they are just super well made.
Yeah, dude, this vacuum infusion, high-end resins, fancy composites, Kevlar and carbon fiber stuff is just unbelievable. And the craftsmanship, like the way they go together, is just bananas. I don't know of any other boats that are made that well. I've never seen the inside of an Allison because I've never even been to the plant.
So Tony is catching so much heat right now.
Yeah, it's true. So my boat's at JCS Marine up in Rhode Island, and I'm sure it's John writing the comments because me and John have that relationship a little bit. But John says Tony needs to learn how to drive before he smokes anyone, which is a true statement.
Did you miss the comment that Heath made?
No.
When Chad said he was going to smoke them, and he said, "Well, you better bring a snorkel."
Oh, God damn it! What the fuck? True, but broke off both spikes of the power pole, getting that thing off the bottom. By the way, hold on, I'm reading. Chad showing me a text message. Okay, we're gonna get into that after hours for sure. Yeah, dude, this is actually super cool because like. To me, right, I'm a fisherman, right? I am a fisherman. I look at bass boats the way a lot of people look at classic cars, right? It's cool, it's fast, it's got these features that make it awesome, but I don't really know.
Old Slick Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know what it is that makes it, this or that or the other. So like to go into this level of detail is super neat. Admittedly, I wasn't a bullet guy until I had one, it took me to buy into building one before I learned about what it was.
Before we get too sidetracked here, we've looked at all these holes. Do we have pictures of a gambler hull?
We're about to bounce back. I was going to say, Don't worry about the rest of these pictures. I think we've covered enough. Let's bounce back to the main directory.
Because I want to get back into the nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
This is super interesting.
If you bounce back out, there's a photo called Older Gambler Pad Design. And it's the ass end of a boat on a lift. It's a green and white boat.
Yep, we got it up. Yep.
All right, so pop that open. This is going to be the typical. I mean, there were a couple of changes. Like, I don't even know exactly which model this is. If it's a 209, 21, I don't know what it is. But it's representative of the old. So if you look at the pad on that boat, it looks almost identical to the Howard Pipcorn Hydrostream one. Mm-hmm. Like almost carbon copy. Also look at where the drain plug is in the back of the boat, and look where the motor mounting face is, where that jack
It's
cleat
so
meets
far
up.
back.
Look how well. See that distance. So now let's. You can't see it in that one. Go to the trim tab folder.
The folder.
Second from the left. Yep, there you go.
And then there's a picture in there that's DSC0343.
Got it.
Open that one up.
Yes, sir.
That's the newer Gambler hull. That's the Sterling era hull.
Okay.
So that drain plug is almost 2.5 feet from where the jack plate mounts to the back of the boat.
Yeah.
It's probably this much further from, so that just push. That's where that part of the boat, the pad, got moved forward. And also, this is not the best picture. Oh, if you guys just want to see the trim tabs, you see the plates up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the trim tabs, and then if you just go to the other picture in that folder, it's from the back with them deployed.
So how do you
Go to
like
the other picture?
the trim tabs? Like, obviously, usually you have on the left side jack plate, right side trim. Like, how did you control the trim tabs? Is that with a foot?
We use the Dometic trim tab controller. It's like a dial with some
Oh
buttons
wow.
on it.
Okay.
It
Interesting.
was right in front of the shifter.
God, that is
So you
wild.
just
Let's talk
reach
about
down.
this
It
propeller
really is.
for a
The
second.
thing is wild looking.
Is this what you would call a chopper prop, or like what's going
This
on with
is
this?
my ballistic, actually. It's made by Michigan Wheel. It was never really popular. Didn't really get a lot of rave reviews or a lot of attention from the performance guys. But I had one on my 202, and I dinged it, did something to it. I took it to a guy and just had him clean it up and add some tip cup. And I was like, can you put PVS holes like the Murphy props in there? And he was like, yeah, I could do that. Bro, it was a total different animal. It lit my boat on fire.
So a lot of people say PVS holes only affect hole shot. Do they affect top end as
No,
well?
just hole shot.
Okay.
It's just hole shot. I just needed to build some more RPM during the whole shot to help.
If you ever need a prop worked, if you don't have a guy, hit up Prop Dynamics. Those guys are
Propeller
top
dynamics.
notch, man.
Crazy dudes.
They had a Falcon running in the 80s. It was pretty wild.
All right, so pop back out to the main folder, and then the picture that I've been working up to all this time is a new Gambler pad design. It's about hanging up in the air.
Got it.
And it's a
Oh,
good
wow.
high-res pick. Zoom in kind of on that bottom back part of the boat. Just take
Got it.
all that in.
Oh, it has that like the interesting like concave design. Yeah.
So the pad's got that like concaveness to it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a hook. You ask the Ranger
Right.
guy. He knows it.
Damn, that's the exact term that they use to look. It's got a hook in the hull.
Man. You know
Yeah.
what? It's
That's
we're
scab.
we're talking about less performance to more performance here, so I don't know nothing about it. Because my boat was only going about 36 miles an hour before I sent it back to the factory.
Yeah, so Bob told me when I was down there talking to him, or it might have been on the phone, but he was like, we shaved a 1/16 of an inch at a time until it started to lose speed. And then we put that 16th back, and then we moved to the next surface and started shaving.
That's crazy. The amount of testing involved in bringing out that type of performance.
Yeah, I mean, this really is a work of art, like to come up with this on your own. So you'll notice it doesn't have the small steps. They, instead of having that little concave, narrow pad part and then go to these two little small steps, they just brought the two small steps down, and it's all one big kind of concave. So they made it,
Yeah.
a lot wider.
It seems like it's all kind of just together instead of a step type.
Yeah, we'll
type
have some.
thing.
It might be tough to see in this picture too, but we talk about the hook being bad, but a hook is bad when if this is the water surface and you're in the boat. If you touch in front and behind the hook, you're suction cupped. That's terrible. But if you were to ride like this
Oh.
on the hook,
Hang on.
that's a whole different story, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And then that angle behind the hook is what that's basically determining your angle of attack of the hull, like of the water, where it's meeting the water, and you can change that so that the angle of attack of the deck and the top of your boat is optimal for the aerodynamic angle of attack, so that you can, because they're not the same. It's like 5 to 7 degrees on the hull, and it can be all kind of different numbers on the deck. But that's just really cool to me. And then if you move forward up the boat, you kind of see how it starts to get a little bit flatter, and that little concave shape starts going away, and it transitions into kind of the front of the keel where it starts to sweep up.
So Brandon Piscatelli in the comments says, I remember, if I recall correctly, I remember seeing pics of you at Lake X doing testing with the Gambler Sterling. It looks like you were doing some CG testing. I don't know what CG testing is.
Center gravity. So,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We did. It wasn't really CG testing. We were doing motor testing and prop testing, but we wanted to make sure that the boat was loaded in a realistic way. In their test boat didn't have trolling motor on it and a bunch of other stuff. So it was pretty bare bones. So we added a bunch of lead shot bags and all around the boat to get it right. So he probably saw a picture of us doing that and making sure that everything was realistic, like to a tournament boat.
Right, because it all changes when you put a 100-pound trolling motor on the front and 2 graphs and all that.
Let me ask you this: like,
that buddy, what was it? What was the guy? The diabetes, whatever.
So let me ask this: with the weight of trolling motors, like, do you feel that the trolling motors, especially the
I'm
Ultrex
gonna bury
Quest,
my head in the sand real quick. Like,
Wait, troll motors, go ahead.
are the Ultrex, like some of these newer trolling motors, like the Ultrex Quest, like in your opinion, is it too heavy? Like, does it affect the performance of these boats?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It absolutely affects the performance. But it's one of those things, man. It's a trade-off. I mean, having a good trolling motor is pretty damn valuable too.
Right.
Because I'm currently
all
like,
the best trolling motors are heavy trolling motors.
I'm like
Not
juggling the pros and cons of the Ultrex Quest versus the Power Pull Move.
They're all
and
heavier.
like personally, the Ultrex
Pull
Quest,
is like 50
yes,
pounds,
it's heavy, but
latest.
I'm leaning towards the Quest because it's a better trolling motor versus the Move, which is lighter and it's going to be better performance, but it has problems. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not really, from a bullet perspective, a lot of guys are going to say go to the Move, but like, I'm a fisherman at the end of the day. I don't want to have issues.
Lewis,
Yeah,
what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining, brother.
I feel your pain, and I don't have a solution for you. But it's important to have a trolling motor that you can depend on if you're going to be fishing.
Now, just this is another question about Gambler for a second. So, like with the Quest, I've heard from some folks who rig a lot of boats, and I've heard that the Ultrex Quest has put stress cracks in the bow of lots of different boat brands, including Icon, which are supposedly these super robust boats. Like, what do you have to say about any of that? Is that do you know that that's true, or like are trolling motors like too strong for what they are in your opinion?
Well, I mean, is the trolling motor cracking the bow under thrust or bouncing and going down the lake?
Under thrust.
From what we've heard,
that seems
Unlikely.
we were told
like that shouldn't happen.
So we were told by someone that you can actually see the bow of the boat flex if you have the trolling motor on 10.
Oh, and the bullet I can see it, but that's an older
bigger
bullet.
Question, more than the trolling motor thrust. What kind of boat is it?
Yeah, and the bullet in my old XDC, yes. I feel like now I will say this.
I have a Quest on my Skeeter. I don't get any flex.
Now I actually called.
I have not seen that issue, and I've had a Quest for 2 years.
I talked to Bullet about that very issue because I have the Quest on the Bullet, and
I don't
you
have
can
a
see it flex.
problem in my Ranger.
Well, you have lots of other problems. It didn't sink though.
You know what?
It didn't sink.
Fuck you guys.
It didn't sink. But I actually called Bullet and I was like, hey, I got an XDC. It's got this trolling motor on it. It's flexing. What's the deal? And they said on the XRSs and on the XSTs and on any new Bullet, if it's got a Quest or a Power Pull Move, they will actually reinforce the front of the boat specifically for those trolling motors. So if it's a boat that's built to order, if they're putting a quest or a move, they will add bracing to the front of it because of the amount of ass that trolling motor has.
Or
Which,
weight.
On a bullet, I get that because, I mean, they're not putting extra weight and materials in the boat all willy-nilly. You know, they're being more careful about what's going in the build, and it's probably more appropriate for anything they can imagine at the time. But then you come out with a new trolling motor, and it's got more torque. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. I didn't know that, but yeah.
So the specifically Bullet was saying yes, they'll reinforce the front of the boat, but they won't put a move or a quest on a Bullet without the wedge. So the Amp Marine wedge, I think they have a deal with AMP, but I'm sure you've seen it. It's basically a $300 piece of plastic that you put on the front of the boat. It's fucking overpriced, but it is what it is.
Is Brandon talking about a Gambler model or a Bullet model?
I believe he's talking about a Gambler model.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So Brandon says, not sure if it's been asked. I remember there being a 20-foot model coming out, or the release of the OG Sterling. Any idea what happened to that project? Ugly windshields that has people freaking out.
Ugly windshields.
I can't argue with that.
Do you know about that, or was that a thing?
If he's talking about the 20'7" boat that was brand new and we only built 2, that's the only thing I know about.
Did it have ugly windshields?
Yes, it had very ugly windshields.
Must be what he's talking about. that seems very specific.
Honestly,
he said yes, it had very ugly windshields.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of all of the windshields, to be honest, but
I will say, like, I know we've kind of nerded out for a second, but like, I feel like Gambler was a very special boat in that it did everything, right? Like, I haven't had a chance to run my Bullet in rough water. I've heard that they're good, but you also hear that on the Bullet forums, right? I feel like Gambler had that ability to have a boat that had storage, that had speed, and that had rough water capability and fishability, whereas a lot of boats like Ranger, you have the fishability, Legend, Falcon, you have the fishability, but you lose the speed. Some other boats are really good in rough water, but you might lose the fishability, you might lose the speed. But Gambler kind of had it all. Like, they had everything.
It was a unicorn. It really was. And that's why I put so much into it and was so jacked about it and so reluctant to let it go.
And they look cool. Every time I see Joe's boat, like on the bay or on the Potomac, like it. Yeah.
Joe, if you're still watching, I want to ride in that thing. I'm just saying. I know Joe's a hammer on Harvey's Lake, Pennsylvania. Joe, you got an open seat. I will drive.
He's also a hammer on the Potomac.
Seriously, I've never ridden into Gambler
He's just a
or
hammer.
Sterling. Like,
Joe's
Joe,
just a hammer
if you're
all
on and you ever have an open seat, Potomac, Upper Bay, Harvey's Lake, whatever, I'm down, dude. Like, seriously, I just want to ride in one and fish out of it. It would be a lot of fun.
Cheers to Jim Fallon.
Right? Jim said take a
telling
drink.
us to take a drink.
Right? Dude, this is a really awesome conversation, man. Like, I'm very excited that you came on and helped us out with this, because this is a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't understand. Like, I feel like for a lot of us, I mean, I speak for us three, where it's like, when we're looking at a boat, like, this conversation never happens. It's literally just what is
got Morgan's on here. Morgan from Propeller Dynamics. What's going on, brother?
We just look at a boat and we're like, oh, this looks cool, or like, I heard this about this boat and this boat runs this. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna get that one, but like, we don't ever have the opportunity to go and speak to somebody who knows about these boats and be like, well, this is really the difference between this boat and this boat and that boat, and it's just it's super cool, man.
I just wanted to say thank you for going through the nerdy stuff too, because really understanding how a hull works, that's something that I had a very, very basic concept of prior to tonight, and now I have a much better understanding of how the shape of the hull affects performance. And I just wanted to thank you for going through that.
And just so you know, Heath, we haven't lost any viewers with the nerdy stuff. Nobody logged off.
We did for a minute. We went down to 23 for a minute.
We're back up.
We're still. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, we've held the most viewers through
consistently
this show consistently than we have from any other show since we started 3 years ago. So we've held anywhere from 26 to 30 viewers for the
For
past
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours now.
It's been awesome, man.
Really,
That's been fantastic.
Well, that's awesome. Great. If you guys want to see something pretty, open up the picture that's the Gambler Hull mold.
What is that? Which one is that in?
It says Gambler Hull mold. It's in the just
There it
top
is.
directory.
Okay, yep, we're pulling it
Oh.
up right now.
well, hello there.
Yep, it's up now.
That's just gorgeous. So it may be hard to tell because everything's flipped around, but that spot on the champion that kind of bulged out, if you look at this boat, everything is concaved up. So you can see it pretty good.
It's
like
very
a little,
aerodynamic.
it's like a little bitty boat with a big boat riding on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what real ride quality comes from. So having the big swooping keel like the champions use to cut through the waves and almost kind of fake good ride quality. It's that steep dead rise that makes the boat ride good at all speeds in lots of different conditions, quartering waves, straight on, all of that stuff. So that that picture there is a good depiction of the differences. You might have to look at it a couple times to pick it all up, but
It's so shiny.
well, that's the mold. So that's waxed and buffed to perfection. And then the gel coat gets sprayed into that, and then all the fiberglass starts going in.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I feel like
Yeah.
as like I said, like my mind is completely blown, and I definitely have a lot more respect in what goes into hull designs, and more importantly, what doesn't go into hull designs. Like some of the cookie cutter brands that are just like it's, whatever. Like
Yeah, there's always a kind of a trade, push pull trade off. So you may save, over a certain number of boats by just having little bitty strakes and not getting carried away with having to do a bunch of bonding material and stuff. That could be like 150 grand a year, depending on the number of your boats you're making that you could save.
Right. You're putting out, like, what's, how many boats does White River Marine put out? 1,000 boats a year. Yeah.
Guys,
a bunch.
Guys, the show's not over yet, but if you're really enjoying the show, make sure you go to our Facebook page and give us a like and a follow there on Facebook or YouTube. Like us and subscribe, and we're gonna try to. Obviously, we love having Heath on. We would absolutely love to have you come back on again in the future, man.
I'll come back on any time, man. Also,
Love to
if
hear
everybody's
that.
starting to bail on this, don't forget to give me a plug for Veracity. If you guys need anything, hit me up. I got.
Tell us-
Nobody's bailing.
Go
We
ahead.
still have a shitload of people watching.
tell us
Plug
a little
it.
bit about Veracity. Like what are you guys doing over there?
It's just me. It's I started just kind of scrambling for ways to stay connected to the boat business after I left Gambler, and I was just brainstorming what can I do that can help people, and leverage kind of. I went through thousands of parts and tried all kind of stuff in the boat building, and I was like, I kind of know what works in a lot of cases. If somebody needed help, or I could give them some direction, it'd be cool if I just had a site where I could just pick like the good stuff and just come here, and it'll just be the power pole light that doesn't leak and fall off. It'll be the good one, or the products that I know from experience that work. That's how it started. It's evolved into more than that, but I've got lots of stuff, and it's all
Can you
boat electronics, parts, accessories.
where I can-
In the services where if somebody has questions, that's probably where we're kind of told what we can sell things for. So you can't beat other people's prices, but I can certainly answer more questions than the average customer service person about your boat question.
So Luke says, what's the fastest Gambler hull that you know of?
Probably we're talking about with rated horsepower or with anything.
Let's
so
say rated
Obviously, like
horsepower.
the smaller boats, the SS boats with lots of horsepower are probably the fastest. As far as the actual tournament bass boat, it's probably the 20'7", the new one. but it might be between that and a 2100. I am not sure. Like I said, I haven't spent a lot of time in the older boats. I know that a lot of people had really fast ones, but some of them were running pretty hot motors too. So I don't know horsepower for horsepower.
Let me ask you this.
Jim says, which Ranger bass boat not to buy? Jim, you just gotta shoot me an email, buddy. I'll take care of you.
The one that ends with
anything after this.
Let me ask you this.
www.veracity, VERACITY, marine.com. VeracityMarine.com. We posted it in the comments, guys, on Facebook. Go check out his page for sure. VeracityMarine.com.
In your opinion, do you think the 4-strokes are faster than the 2-strokes in today's, like, on an equivalent hull?
I think so.
Love that.
I think so. The setup might be a little bit different. They're really close. Like, I remember I spent all that time, with the gamblers and testing, and we had the shows on those, and those were really strong motors. And then I jumped back in my 202 after 2 years of spending no time in it, and I've got a 225 EFI 3-liter.
Heath, have you ever? I'm sorry, not to cut you. Go ahead.
It did not. It surprised me how fast it was still compared to the shows. So, it's hard to say. I think the new motors are better motors. They're better on fuel. I think they're going to last a little better, maybe. The only downside is they weigh a little bit more.
But like that 300X though, that's just a monster. Like, ugh. Like when you hear somebody fire up a 300X, like on muffs, it's just that's an angry SOB. Like it's angry. Like it wants to hurt you. It's like a CR500 if you're talking dirt bikes. Like it just has that that pop and that you could tell it's throaty. You know what I mean? Like not to get into the whole dirt bike. Me and Chad can go into that too.
Yeah, don't pull me into that.
You're
either.
a dirt bike fan, right?
I ride 2 or 3 times a week.
Shoo! We got to talk a little bit later on about some dirt bike stuff. Love that shit, man. Love it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, real quick, we'll get off the dirt bikes in a second, but all right. What's your weapon? If you could have any dirt bike today, what would it be?
I've always rode red, so I haven't thrown a leg over anything that I like better than my
always
CRF.
Been a CRF guy my entire life.
Yeah.
But I have definitely thought about possibly going to the YZ 450 or a 250.
I have heard good things about the suspension and the motor on the new YZFs. But
they have a good chassis and a good motor.
Honestly, I think all the bikes being made right now, that Ducati's pretty sexy too. I'm not gonna lie.
The Ducati's pretty sick. Definitely needs to be tested a little bit more.
So in my shed, I have a 1983 YZ125 that I rebuilt when I was 13 years old, and I still have it. Nice. It still runs.
Needs to be rebuilt again.
It's an old yellow Screamer that's got the brakes do not work at all.
You don't need brakes, bro.
It just, and the power band is like little bitty, but when it hits it, man, that thing just rolls, and it's like weighs like 60 pounds. Like, it's awesome. It probably weighs more than that, but anyway. We could probably talk to Heath about horsepower, whether it's on the water or
we could get into some serious shit with Heath about dirt bikes, man. That's a whole nother thing that we could definitely get into.
Yeah, I tell people if it burns gas and it scares you a little bit, I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so like this is going to be off topic for a slight second, then we're going to go right back onto it. Hayden Deegan, what do you feel about him?
Oh man, he is putting on a great soap opera.
Yes. All right, that's all I need to do here.
And it's his brand. It's what the business his dad was in. It's going to be the business, and it's working, and he's getting rich off of it. So why stop? Don't stop. Just do it.
Kid's a killer, dude. He's going to be.
I couldn't do it. Beast. I could never do any of that or behave that way, or I couldn't even fake it. Like it would just feel grimy and wrong. But he's doing good, and I don't blame him. Don't hold it against him. Yeah, it's business.
They're gonna kill it, man. Can't wait to see what he has to do against Jet and Hunter Lawrence in the 450s. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, he's also a freak on a dirt bike for sure. He put in the work. He's very polished. Definitely wasn't trying to take anything away from his riding and be like, because he's a badass.
Absolutely.
So we got a good comment a good question in the comments. What do you think about boat brands putting like the $500 on boats? Like, is that crazy, or do you see the appeal to that?
I just wish that that's all they would put on boats.
It's funny you say that because when we talk to the fellows at Roughneck Boats and FC Tomcat, they're like, "What do you mean rated for 250? Like, why do you guys do that? Like, that's dumb." They're like, "Why do you guys talk about speed? I could put a 450 racing motor on my FC Tomcat and do 90 miles an hour. Like, what do you mean 250?" I'm like, look, I'm sorry. Here in the free world, if you will, there's limitations and it sucks and blah blah blah. But I do agree. I mean, the Coast Guard doesn't regulate for a reason. I get that there's like liabilities and stuff with tournament fishing.
Yeah, that's all it is. Liability. It's all insurance related. It has nothing to do with the structure of the boat or its ability to float the motor, or it's all insurance and liability.
Did you guys?
And honestly, I'm pretty sure that's why Icon it's got the performance it does, because the performance didn't move the needle as much as the insurance risk. You know, there was no reason to make it faster than that.
Right.
They just, I think, tested a Skeeter and a Ranger and like, okay, here's where the bar is we need to be, and that's where they stopped.
Did you guys ever
70
put?
miles an hour?
Did you guys ever put anything over 250 on any of the gamblers when you were there?
When I was at Lake X, I spent 5 days at Lake X with the guys at Mercury, and ran the 450R on it, and that was like driving a 20-foot jet ski on nitrous.
How would it run?
Somebody asked.
A 20-foot jet ski.
Somebody actually asked how fast was the Gambler with the 450R.
Yeah, so we got 103 out of it, but that's
Oh my God.
that was at like, I think it was 24% prop slip.
That's a lot
Because
of prop slip.
We just had to run what we had, and we had a limited number of props, but we had I think it was a 36 Bravo lab, and that's, I mean, the prop slip was up, but it stayed hooked just enough to get the boat, and that was we tried to run a cleaver and some other stuff, and they kept trying to climb up the back of the boat, was trying to climb out of the water, just got so much stern lift from the cleavers.
Was there no blowout?
What's that?
Was there no blowout? Didn't the prop blow out?
I blew a blowout. Well, when they were trying to climb up, no, it didn't blow out.
How do you handle that?
So you
Because I've
blow
heard that, like, so I on my bullet I have a Torque Master, and I've heard that over 85 you're in blowout territory. So like, what happens?
Yeah, and what year's is a Torque Master 2 or?
It's
an older Torque Master 1.
This new one's a 2018 Torque Master. It's a 2018.
So that'd be the newer one.
So yeah, I still think that's a
Or is that the
Torque
older
Master.
one?
I don't know for sure, to be honest, but yeah, you want to be careful. You're probably going to want to get a cone blower, like with the low water pickup and a little bit of cone that they put on the front, rather than going with a full Sportmaster swap. Most of the Gambler guys actually got better numbers with cone blowers on the older Torque Masters than they did with Sportmasters, but I'm not as familiar with the bullet. Your bullet brethren will be able to help you a ton.
Hold on.
So how? So you said you blew out twice, or you kind of started to say you blew out twice.
Yeah, I blew out. I was running the. It was what is it? A Pro Max prop. It was like can't remember what pitch, but a Pro Max is a little bit smaller diameter, 4-blade Mercury prop, and it's somewhere. It's hard to explain, but it's a smaller diameter.
Right.
That's a lot of horsepower to put on a small diameter prop, and I knew it was, so I got it up and was kind of smooth with it. Got it to about 93, and I was like, all right, and I punched it, and it blew out. But fortunately, I was in the Sterling hole, because the back of the boat picked up and it just kind of waddled like that, slowed down, and it dropped back in, and I got back on the gas and off we went.
You didn't do a 180? Okay. You didn't do a 360 no scope with that thing?
No, that's actually why Mercury has that boat, the Sterling, for doing blowout testing and lower unit stuff.
Wait, hold on. Expand on that for a second. So say that one more time.
So it's a lot safer than any other of the hulls. And we were getting there, and we just kind of got off the subject. But I was about to show that the bulb part in the front that's rounded, that's its purpose.
No
So
shit.
you blow
Oh,
out
wow.
and it drops the bow. It's not a sharp V. It's kind of a bulb, but it's sized just right to where it's not rough. It still cuts waves. Like you wouldn't even know it was a bulb. I remember when I first saw the hole, I was like, "No, that's gonna ride like shit." Wrong. I was wrong. Learned a lot. But when it lands and it kind of rolls to either side, that bulb doesn't change shape. It's not picking a direction, and it generates more lift to keep the bow up. So the boat just kind of waddles back and forth, and then it slows down and it hooks back up and it picks back
Right,
up.
where-
And it
when
doesn't
you have
spin
that-
and throw you out.
And when you have that sharp, it just catches and hooks and.
That's
bad
right.
things
It
happen.
pick it because it'll lean. It's like a 3-wheeler.
Yep.
And you said Mercury uses that
even-
hull to like test props.
Even
Yeah,
at
for
85
safety purposes. It's fast enough to test the things they need to test, but it's not risking their guys' well-being.
I didn't. So does Mercury like own a Sterling? That
Yeah,
just
they
use?
got a red sterling hull that they have in the barn.
That's
No
cool.
shit. I didn't,
That's
wow,
super cool.
That's actually awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
got
think
a ton
anyone
of
knew
pictures I could share with you guys too. I got one of me hugging a 450R on the back of it.
Damn. Wow. Well, you were asking a question, Chad. I kind of cut you off. What were
Well,
you
it
thinking?
was just one of the comments. One of the fellows, Luke, he asked if he's not even hitting 85, is there benefits to putting one of these cones on?
How close to 8? Probably not. The big thing is how's your water pressure? If you're losing water pressure, then adding the low water pickups could help. I also don't know what motor he's got, so like I don't know if it's it's got the pickups on the nose of the lower unit or whatnot.
I think he's running an older. I know he's running an older Gambler.
I think
I'm
he
not sure
said
if
it's a
that's the older one.
206. I think he said.
He said it was an 89 earlier.
That's a
So
206.
I don't know what motor he has
Yeah.
yet, though.
If he's in the low to mid 80s, I would recommend a nose cone. Yeah, for safety reasons.
Tell us a little bit about Lake X. What is Lake X? I don't know. I've never heard of this before.
No, you've never
I don't know. I just had to keep pinching myself every day when I'd show up and it's foggy and the watchtower is up there over the water. Sorry, I'm a nerd about that stuff. But it started out as Mercury's testing grounds where they tried to keep things hush hush, and then it just kept being a testing ground. But it kind of became I don't know, cool thing. It was in a bunch of the Mercury Marine, the outboard commercials would show boats at Lake X. And
Does anyone fish Lake X?
I think they do. And I think there's some damn good fish in it, but we didn't when I was there.
It's probably.
Damn. How do we get to fish on Lake X? That'd be sick. Wow.
Where is
No,
I
what
don't
you
even
want
know.
is
Is
to go-
Lake is like it's right next to Area 51? I guess I don't know.
It's right next to Area 51.
Yeah, it was super cool though. There's this whole like strip that goes in. They've got this big barn hangar metal building. It's got all these bays and parts and bins and shelves and all this stuff, hoists, and you drive the boat from the lake right up into these slips that go into the building, and they can hoist the boat up and do whatever with it, weigh it, swap motors, all that kind of stuff. It was just really cool.
Let me ask you this: what is your opinion on Evan Root outboards?
The first outboard powerhead I ever rebuilt was an Evan Rood. It was an
There's that
XP
that he rebuilt.
150.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, Paul. Thank you. I had a fic, so I understand where this is going.
Well, I'm glad you're still here.
I'm not the only one with shitty product, all right? Like,
The fic was just complete garbage. A good friend of mine, Miles, who me and him fish a lot of tournaments together. He has a Bombardier fic, and it's garbage. There's no question. But through multiple painful
it's
experiences,
full of sand right now.
Yeah.
Fuck that motor.
through multiple painful experiences, I know my way around a fic. Unfortunately, and like
a fist.
I feel like it had potential if it would have been done correctly, because I mean obviously the FIC became the E-Tech, and the E-Tech Gen 1 was okay, the G2 was horrible, and now they're gone. But like, I mean, was
Sucked.
Evan
I was really
No,
excited about running one of those.
the G2 or the
Yeah,
E-Tech G1?
because I was talking with them right before everything just went radio silent, and they were going to send us a motor to test to just run on the boats, and I was jacked. I wanted to run one and see what it did, see how it ran. But I never got to.
I really feel like they just stuck to the two. I mean, I like to. I'm a two-stroke guy, dirt bikes, outboards, whatever. But like, I really feel like they missed the boat, and they should have went four-stroke, or they should have done something other than just make a shitty product that blew up. I mean, I feel like the G2.
I'm pretty sure that's
honestly,
nobody's plan to start with.
hold on a minute. Let's talk about the Rotax Ghost for a second. I don't think Andy's still on, but like that was probably the most entertaining video ever. Was watching Andy read like the specs of the Rotax Ghost and how just terrible it was. Because it was like Evan Rude went away and then they were gone for like a year and they're like, we got this huge announcement, dude. This new motor's gonna be awesome. And then they showed it. And I'm like, what? Like you can't trim it up without the back of the boat coming up? Like what the fuck is this?
Look at it before.
Right.
Well, I heard there's a really good shop up in Pennsylvania called Reading Boat Works, and I've took my E-Tech to them for years, and they were a fantastic shop. And I remember going up there right after Evinrude shut down because I found them because I repowered my fix through them. Somebody had an E-Tech on consignment, so I bought it, and I bought it like 3 weeks before Evinrude went under. So like I probably could have paid like $3 to $4 grand less for the if I would have just waited, but it didn't happen. It sucked anyway. And I was like, hey, so like, what do you guys think about this motor? And they're like, yeah, we got rid of our contract with Evinrude. I'm like, what? Yeah, this thing is that bad that we just decided we're just not even going to be involved. Like, we cut our contract with Illumicraft. We don't want anything to do with it because it sucks that bad. And the worst part about it is, when Evinrude went under, none of the dealers got a phone call. Nobody was like,
yeah, it's like it just radio silence. That's what it was. Yeah.
Crazy. I remember I have a guy I know that fishes the Elite Series, and he told me that like the last year that they ran the G2s, that the Evinrude guys ran the G2s on the Elite Series, between three people, they blew 7 motors that year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was starting to hear things that like they were coming around, the motors were getting better towards the end. Doesn't sound like that might not have been the case.
Now, see, like part of the question I was talking to you about.
If you ever get the chance, ask Corey Johnson how he feels about it.
Now, part of the question, like we talked a little bit earlier about COVID and how I feel like COVID was very responsible for Evinrude. Maybe they just use that as a convenient excuse.
Why?
I mean, I feel like a lot of it, in my opinion, outside looking in from the people I talked to, like Evinrude going under was similar to OMC going under in that the quality control sucked. Because the FICT, a lot of the parts were outsourced to Mexico and they were garbage, and then the warranty claims were unreasonable and nobody could keep up with it. And then the G2 came along and it was a lot of the same thing during the COVID era. So a lot of folks said, oh, well, COVID, the parts quality, and this and that and the other. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I am a nobody in fishing. I mean, you guys all know this. I remember reaching out to Evinrude and saying,
so am I.
Well, I remember reaching out to Evinrude and saying, when my FIC was blowing up, like, I want to run an E-Tech. Is there any sort of sponsorship? Because I was very naive. I thought I was going to be a good fisherman. I mean, I'm a decent fisherman, but nothing to the standard that deserves any sort of sponsorship at that level. And Evinrude was like, yeah, we'll give you a sponsorship. I was like, what? And I almost put a G2 on my boat. And then I'm really glad that half price, by the way. I didn't have the funds to do it at the time. But like looking back now, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't. I don't
It's
tell
kind of like
people
that gambler purchase, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you.
Could have had a G2 on a G that never came.
Heath, I'm telling you, when I'm saying like the number was dialed in my phone, like I remember this. So just background on me, not that it matters. I went to military college. Like I basically put away the fun years of my life to build my career and this, that, and the other. Always been huge in bass fishing. And I always told myself when I get out of college after doing this shit, I'm going to buy myself a new boat as like a gift to going through all this nonsense and this, that, and the other. And I was really looking at Nitro, and then Gambler happened. I was like, man, I want to get a Gambler. The phone number was dialed on my phone. And I was like, I'm going to look at my savings account one more time. And it would have cost me 70% of my savings to put a down payment on this. I had a good job. I could have made the payments, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to ruin myself financially. I'm going to wait a year or two. And it just didn't happen, man. And I'm like,
That was smart. That was smart, especially with it being a big chunk of change relative to, what you had just squirrel hold away.
But I can tell you right now, if things would have ended up differently, if the company would have continued, I would have owned one. There's no question about it. It just, the things started, and it was about 6 months after that, I reinvestigated the issue, and that's when on the Gambler page, there was somebody saying, I got a boat, or I made a deposit and don't have a boat. And then the Facebook page got really weird. Like, the Facebook page got really weird, and that's when I was like, whoa, what's up with this?
So just the day after, I told them that, I didn't want to do anymore, that I was going to let them do whatever. The next day, I was kicked off of every Facebook group, blocked from every page, completely cut off. Did not see them, had no idea. So, but then a bunch of weird Facebook group popped up. I know what you're talking about. Like, things got weird, and then there was these things were changing, and it was weird.
It got weird, and then it went in complete. Like, after a couple folks started posting about I made a deposit, then nobody was posting anything. It was over. Like, the Gambler Bass Boat page, which has almost 25,000, the official Bass Boat page or whatever, had nobody said anything, and that's when
did it get up to that?
It's still over 20 now. And again, I'm not alluding to anything, but when I posted a heads up about this episode on that page, it got deleted immediately. And then I went back. I was like, oh, that's weird. Let me post it again. And then it got deleted again. I was like,
21,000.
This is interesting. So I went to all the other Gambler Bass.
Well, it all started to make sense eventually.
So it's just at the end of the day, it's unfortunate because the brand has. The sky was the limit for the product, and it still
is. It's not it's not dead yet. It just doesn't look good.
I really wish that I did hear a rumor probably 3 or 4 months ago that somebody had bought the molds, but I guess obviously I know you don't know anything about that. I hope that somebody does.
As long as the molds stay alive, Gambler stays alive.
It's just in limbo. It's like hibernating, I guess, if you could say that.
I mean, honestly, I can get really close to reproducing it if I wanted to. And plus, you know what? There's a bunch of Sterlings out there. Just go splash one.
Dude, I know.
You really want to make another mold.
Look, I know the 5 people that have commented on this and said, I'm with you, isn't enough to make business out of starting an entire new brand, but I just feel like somebody that would come out with something that replicates or is pretty much the same, man, it's a brand that would take off. And I definitely think there's people out there that would be major business partners that would follow along with you. Just through the comments that we've read, the comments that have come in, it's pretty crazy. Big people on the internet that have a lot of following.
Yeah, hopefully I can't remember the guy's name that's the Bass Boat Central that runs that. He kicked me off for helping somebody. I can't remember. I was answering some questions, some setup questions or something, and all of a sudden I just got this notification that I was kicked off. It said he doesn't need me talking about gamblers on the Gambler group.
Is that still active? Are you still not?
Yeah. He kicked me off, and it said something about it is permanent and something. I sent him an email and just explained, hey, if this has to do with the deposit stuff and all these things, I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of it. I was just on here trying to help people, and I think it was right when I was about to do the show with Andy too, and I might have mentioned it. Hey guys, if you want to check it out or something like that. But yeah, that's all it was. That's all it was, and I got kicked out.
Wild question, totally off the walls, but it's a decent question. If you won the Mega Millions, would you restart? Like, would you do what you're doing?
Yeah, no. What I'm doing right now is not working. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I would absolutely start building boats again. I don't know what I'd call it. I don't know what they'd look like. I don't know how long it'd take, but 100%. That was my jam, man. That was like what I was meant to do.
Would you ever be willing to if the
Murder
opportunity
murder boats.
yeah
Murder boats.
would you be
And I got
willing,
my guy. I got my like brand ambassador right there.
would you be
Murder
willing to relocate if you ever had the opportunity to build boats again?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I talked to Jim Wells one time about potentially, that ballistic. And this was when he was in Texas, and he just didn't have the means to make it happen. But man, I would have moved in a heartbeat if we could have make it work financially. Um, but I'd have to be excited about the boat also. Like, I'm sorry, I've got a thing. It has to be like something that I genuinely think is awesome, or I just don't care about it at all.
You
So
could
Right.
get
It's
there.
just got to be something that you believe in.
You could get there.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, Heath, we're this has been an awesome show, man. Like, we're at 3 hours in.
This
We've
has been
had
this has been one of the best shows we've ever had.
I'm
for
shopping
sure.
on
Fantastic.
I'm shopping on Heath's website right now. I actually already placed an order.
So I will say this, Heath, we are Chad and I. We're gonna for a thank you for coming on here. We're gonna send you a little care package with some Marylandism if you've ever been to Maryland. I know you're gonna say no, but we're gonna do it anyway. So we're just we're gonna do it anyway. But we're gonna send you a care package with a thank you from our side for coming on and talking with us, man. It's been an awesome opportunity to sit here and pick your brain and hear your account of all things gambler and bass boats. And I mean, like we said, your expertise in this industry and your passion for this industry is awesome, and it definitely deserves to find a spot for you to land at and give back, because what you have to offer to this industry is incredible, and I hope nothing but the best for you. And I'm going to be honest with you, if we ever find anyone throughout our channels on the show that's looking for somebody, we're going to tell them about Heath Murphy. And if we can do anything for you, brother, we're here to do it.
Heath, once again,
I appreciate it.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on the show. That's just been one of the shows that I've enjoyed more than so many of the other shows, and really hope that you'll be willing to come back and talk to us again and hang out with us, drink a couple
Anytime, man.
drink a couple beers, man, and maybe even talk about some dirt bikes beforehand. I love that you're into motocross before we
Absolutely.
even get into the boats, dude. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, man. Can't tell you
I've
thank you enough.
I've got two things. One, if you're ever in the Maryland area, hit us up.
Yes.
Oh, hell
We
yeah.
Absolutely.
We have some pretty amazing bass fishing up here. Two, what part of you're in South Carolina?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are you near?
Charleston.
Charleston.
Where
So
I'm from.
you're closer to like Santee.
Yeah, but I could be real close to Murray. Why do you ask?
Because Lake Murray is one of my favorite lakes in the country.
Yeah. So my family. My family has a place on Murray. I grew up there,
Oh,
and I stay there most of the time. I actually am just visiting with my folks in Charleston right now. I lived in Charleston before, but now I'm I'm homeless. So I've been staying at the lake a bunch, and that's where I've actually been riding 2 or 3 times a week as well, is at a little track near our place at the
Nice.
lake. So if you ever want to hit Murray, man, now's the time.
I might hit Murray next spring. I'll
right.
I'll give you a call.
Do that.
From it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Gotta hit that
Absolutely.
herring spawn.
So
I think we're gonna. Anything else from you,
Yeah,
Heath,
yeah.
before we
So-
end it here?
if you can hook me up with the guy, John, at the JCS so that we can build
Oh, hell yeah,
a
dude.
ridiculous fast champion.
Dude,
'Cause I've
not
got
even
some stuff I
question
can
it.
do
You
on
already
that
know.
boat.
We're going to send you all the information, dude.
If you do that, you can keep your care package, because I saw the 202s that he redid, and I've got the 202, and I've been trying to scheme how I could get mine flipped and do this pad that it needs on it. Just experimenting, and I think he's got the place to do it. So
First
that'd be
off,
awesome.
you're going to get the care package, absolutely. All the information to John. John Scungio is we've already talked to him. The man definitely wants to talk to you.
Surprised he wasn't
and
on.
that is definitely a connection that we want to make 110%. Can't wait to see what you guys can come up with.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate it, guys, and I appreciate you being patient with me through all my nerding out stuff, and I really enjoyed it.
That was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
It was the best, dude. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Heath.
Thanks, man. Hey, you always got friends here in Maryland. If you ever need anything, we're going to go ahead and cut it. I'll shoot you a text after this. Thanks again, brother. We really appreciate it, man. And thanks for everyone that joined us. We really appreciate the conversation. Have a great night. Go out, catch some fish before the ice hits, and we'll see you next Friday night.
Bass boats and dirt bikes rule.